Hello everyone and welcome back to Agent Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Simat. And in this video we are going to return to Tzeentch and talking about the changes that have happened with the Change Away in their new battle tome. So joining me in this venture is going to be Martin from Chasing Those Sixes, and also of course my favourite German Panzer Grenadier, Max. How are we doing, guys?
Wonderful. Now that I have secured my status as your favorite, I'm all good.
Yeah, I'm okay as the second favourite, okay? You could have put the favourite Scottish person, but no.
There's no such thing.
I haven't got any, and I'll say this, living German family members at the moment. I used to, but I have got living Scottish, so I can't really go for that. My favourite person from Aberdeen, because I think that's a safe haven, because I don't think there's anyone there. But I said Panzer Grenadier, so slightly different. I don't know, Scots Guards. Do you want to go for that one? Anyway, so this video is not talking about history. This video is talking about Tzeentch, and why I've got you two on here because you know Martin from our other Tzeentch videos. You've watched that. He's a fairly well experienced Tzeentch player, and then we've got Max, who is brand new to Tzeentch, but very motivated and keen on the army, especially with the new edition of the battle tome and the Ether War box. Is that right, guys? Would you say?
Yep, that's pretty much it. I took a look at the Ether box, at the Ether War box. I wanted to carry out an Overlord anyway. Happened to include Tzeentch. I was thinking about starting Tzeentch because I want a magic army. And here I am with the book, with the box, and some models.
So I have no book yet, but the book will be coming. I didn't get the Aether Wars box because I didn't really want the KO stuff, but the more and more I look at it, the more and more shiny it becomes, so it may end up getting bought soon.
Always the way. Always the way. So what we're going to do in this video is we're not going to look at everything massively in depth in this video because we have got to sleep at some point. We've got to eat, and this book can take a very long time. So we're going to sort of summarise the changes that we can basically remember, because it's hard to get the old copy of the rules and stuff. And we'll sort of summarise it, and then in the next video we'll be looking on getting back on track with things like I believe the next video in line for Tzeentch was going to be for the demons, so that'll be like the next proper one we do. But this will sort of summarise it. We'll go through the allegiance abilities briefly, and things like spells, battalions, that sort of thing. We'll certainly do. And I'll say from the get-go, and like I say, I don't play the army. I've just read the rules and just heard from other people's experiences. I would say in this book, to start off with, just to say, the demons are better than the mortals. What are you guys' thoughts?
Ooh, that's controversial.
The demons have one advantage as that one of the allegiance abilities only affects demons of Tzeentch. That is the newly added Locus of Change that makes demons within 12 of a demon hero -1 to hit.
Yeah.
That's...
The acolytes as well got, to be fair, got a little bit of a buff. They got some cult stuff that makes them quite handy. They got sort of buffs to becoming wizards, and they have made some good changes and steps, I think, in the right direction to sort of make all of the things of Tzeentch better. I think the new books definitely brought some small but noticeable changes to a lot of the units and stuff like that. A lot of the heroes seem to have remained relatively similar with their abilities and stuff. Not like massive changes, obviously big points changes as well. But yeah, I agree with Mer that there is a few. The book is definitely biased towards demons because they also get sort of some of the better artifacts, and the spells are a little bit better and stuff like that. So
that's good. So that's just what I want to say at the start. That's my personal thoughts. But like I said, we're going to go into it and sort of have a real look and see what we actually think. So to start with the battle traits, some things have changed, some things haven't changed. I believe the Destiny dice, where you roll those 9 dice before the game begins, and you can use those for certain results instead of rolling a dice. I believe that part hasn't changed, unless it's...
It has. In
Has,
one
okay.
significant detail, as in it comes now with a detailed list of what you can change, and the significant part is that damage rolls for spells are not part of it.
Right, okay, because there's a lot of D6 mortal wounding, isn't there? Is that what you're going to say, Martin?
No, I think I'm just looking at my old battle tome. I have the original battle tome here, and there is a specific line that really stood out to me, and it is that if you want to replace 2d6 rolls, such as casting or charge rolls, you must spend the 2 dice. Now, I can't see that in the old book. I'm sure that you could substitute 1 dice and roll the other one, whereas now you must spend the 2.
To be fair, I think you're right. Because like I said, I haven't played the army, but I remember when I fight against things like Lords of Change, I did remember my opponent just... Like, when he rolls, like, I don't know, 2 dice, and they're both, you know, like, 1s to cast, he'll replace one of the 1s with, I don't know, a 5, and then it becomes a casting value of 10.
Yeah, so you have to, before you roll the dice, you have to choose to use Destiny dice.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, I must have been playing someone who cheated me then. So that's an interesting turn. But
there is actually something that I think will be FAQ'd very, very quickly, and that is with the relation to the Lord of Change's ability reference this rule, because he makes basically the highest dice on his casting roll multiply. You can basically, if you roll a 6 and a 1, it becomes 2 6s. So you still technically have to roll 2 dice, but you know that's sort of, it doesn't specifically exempt him from that rule in that passage, and I'm very curious to see if they FAQ that quite quickly.
We'll have to wait and see for that.
The wording in the new book is kind of unclear in my personal opinion, as it says, note that each Destiny dice spent only allows you to replace a single die roll. So, as in, meaning, is it just a reminder that you need to spend 2 if you want to change 2 dice? Or does it mean you have to spend 2 dice? I think that's, in my personal opinion, rather unclear.
Yes,
definitely
you have to spend 2 Destiny dice, don't you, for like a charge roll or for a...
So it says, such as casting, it says, if you want to replace 2d6 roll, brackets, such as a casting roll or a charge roll, you must spend 2 Destiny dice. In addition, they count as unmodified and cannot be modified further, which is fair enough. That's always kind of been the case. But yeah, it's for me, it's more for the Lord of Change, and because he is a big factor in a lot of lists, I kind of thought they would make that clear from the get-go, and I don't feel that that's clear. Because it says you must spend 2 dice. That then negates his ability, which is to make the lowest dice the highest dice. So you're going to have to spend a dice to waste a dice, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it might allow you to spend those dice you do not want, which are the kind of mid-of-the-way rolls of 3s and 4s. You tend to want low dice for battle shock rolls and high dice for attacks, damages, and spells.
Yeah, I imagine especially things like 2s. I imagine a 2 is the worst Destiny dice result, is it?
It still can manage to pass a battle shock test. If you're not playing demons that get models back on a 1, you might want to use that for model battle shocks.
Yes.
But you could spend 6 and a 2 this way to get a casting value of 12.
Yes.
The 2 is still turned into a 6.
But it's still very unclear, and I would like an FAQ to just clear that up and say that either he's exempt from that rule or no, you must spend the 2 dice, regardless of the rule.
Yes, an FAQ would definitely be appreciated for that.
Yes, but I think the only other sort of big change is, as you said, the Locus of Change, which is now army-wide. So I don't know if you want to move it on to that conversation or the change Covens or anything like that.
We'll get to that as we got the change Covens next. The only other thing to say before that is one of the other battle traits, which is the Locus of Change, and that's what we're talking about. How demons now are a little bit more survival. So what that is subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target friendly Tzeentch demon units that are wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Tzeentch demon hero. So this is going to make your Tzeentch demon essentially more survivable. It means that your Tzeentch demon heroes are going to be always -1 to hit and melee. how much use do you see of this guy? Do you think it's going to be something that's going to be a passive, really good effect?
I think it's pretty much only valuable for horrors. Every other type of demon, well, except for the Locus of Change, of course, the greater demons that can be thrown into combat, but none of the other demons really want to be in melee combat the way I see it. Like, you don't want the flamers to be in combat. Yes, it helps, but it's not that big a deal for them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to say, just to point something out here, just in case people aren't aware, you would think, oh, Skyfire is a great in combat and Enlightened are great in combat on those discs. They are no longer got the demon keyword, so this isn't going to apply to them. So this is why we say things only like Pink Horrors, Lords of Change are really going to get stuck into combat, unless... Do you agree with that, Martin?
Yeah, so I don't think you can underestimate a negative one to hit, especially on things like flamers that are already can be a little bit glass. I do think it makes a big difference, and with other things in the book making flamers better, it is just a nice little thing to have. But yes, it is definitely targeted towards pink, blue, and brimstone horrors. Absolutely, making them -1 to hit just kind of adds to the fact that they've now become a tar pit. So yeah, I think it's good, but yes, if you're playing an Acolyte Mortal Army, then yeah, you're essentially missing out on sort of 50% of the Allegiance traits or Allegiance abilities. So,
which for me is one of the first signs to say that the demons are best. And that's not to say the Arcanite side is not good and not worth taking. It's just if you're looking at that competitive end of the scale. So for me personally, because I usually go to like one tournament a year or something like that, or at least one tournament a year. So I always, when I look at doing an army, I always look at the potential of taking it to a tournament, and that's why I sort of factor all these things in. Now, I don't go to tournaments to try and win them or anything like that, but I try and do the best I can while still having fun. For me personally, if I was to do a Tzeentch army, I prefer the Arcanite models to the Demon models. That's my personal preference. So I wouldn't. This rule would not prevent me from doing Arcanites as much as if this rule was really, really powerful. But it is a really handy rule. Pardon me. And if you are taking Tzeentch demons, it will help. And even if, like I say, if you want to go, I'm talking if you want to mainly go mortal, but you've got the odd Tzeentch demon here in there, it's going to help out. So you will probably get some use out of this.
Well, I think the other thing as well is that although the demons benefit largely from the Locus of Change, I think the Mortal Arcanite stuff got a very good cult. Actually, two very good cults, or one that really stands out to me anyway, that's very, very good, and it's entirely targeted towards them, whereas I don't feel like horrors of that got any particularly good cults. I know there's one cult that I think a lot of people will gravitate towards if they're going sort of demon heavy, but it's still, I think it's often one hand for one side of the army and into another for the other side. So I think it's a very mixed bag.
Yeah. But overall, a good ability, because this is a fine new addition from the last Legion's abilities.
I'd like to add that it sort of feels like it's going to be a generally newer direction. They're going to take demons in, with Slanesh receiving the Locus of Diversion, Tzeentch receiving the Locus of Change. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Nurgle update including a Locus of Pestilence or Disease.
Yeah, and I think the same for Khorne as well will come, where it's in that sort of same vein, where it's kind of almost not targeting their weakness, but something that the army is susceptible to. So yeah, Tzeentch is not the best in melee combat. So giving them a -1 to hit in melee doesn't make them better at fighting. It just makes them harder to kill. And
to be honest, in a Tzeentch army where most of your offensive capability, like we sort of talked about this as well, Martin, if I remember correctly, is in their spell power. So keeping most of their offensive spell power comes from those demon wizards, isn't it? So it just helps them stay alive a little bit longer, which, you might look at I don't know, a Magister or something like that, or maybe a better example of a Tzeentch. What's the pink horror wizard?
Oh, just
multiple ones, aren't there?
Yeah.
There's the Fluxmaster, there's the Changecaster,
So if you,
and there are the ones on the chariots as well.
so what I'm trying to say is, if you just looked at like a basic Zeech demon hero, he might not have seen that much, given him, the extra -1 to hit against him. But that Zeech demon hero could know the like Bolt of Zeech spell that does, I believe it's called Bolt of Zeech, that does D6 more wounds. You're keeping your potential to do D6 mortal wounds to the enemy alive a bit longer. Do you sort of see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, even just for that extra hero phase can be the difference between losing a unit and keeping the unit. So, because they used to just be called Heralds of Tzeentch, but now they've got names.
Yeah,
The
which is cool.
The Changecaster in the original Battle Tome. It used to just be called a Pink Herald, or I think it was a Herald on a chariot, or on a disc, or on foot. That was your options.
Yeah, that agreed.
The Locust also, as a primarily Glimpseway Gist player at the moment, the Locust also brings up memories of some good old Goblin cheese, as in combining that with the Rift Feather Charm, I think it was, that also bestows a -1 to hit penalty on enemies.
God.
So you could have a lot of change, charge into combat, and be -2 to hit. That's not too bad.
You know what? I've never played against you. I never met you, but you're a bloody git. You know that. Which is, and to be honest, this is another reason why I've said for quite a while now that when these new battle tomes have came out, and there's a unit in these battle tomes that used to do mortal wounds on a 6+ to hit, and then it gets changed to an unmodified 6, and people go, oh, I can't stack it anymore, and I can't make my guys do mortal wounds on 4s to hit. I've been saying for a long time now, there's plenty of ways out there to make your unit that does the mortal wounds on 6s to hit. There's plenty of more ways out there to make that unit -s to hit than to buff them and give them pluses to hit. And I think this is just another example of why, like for example, Bloodletters, when you used to go, oh, on a 6+ I do mortal wounds, I can make them +1 here, +1 there.
Well, the other thing with the Locust as well is there's a couple of demon heroes that are quite cheap. Well, not cheap, but cheaper than like the Lords of Change. So you've got like the Gaunt Summoner. Yes, he went up in points, but nowhere does it say that it can't stack.
I'm not sure the Gaunt Summoner is still considered.
Yeah, he's still got the demon keyword.
Oh, he does. He does have the demon and the Arcanite. All right.
So you could technically take one bubble of pink horrors, blue horrors, and brimstone, when it splits down, and give them a -2 to hit. And if they're close enough to each other, that's going to give them negatives to hit. And yeah, it can be. I think that's something. Okay, yeah, it bubbles you down, but as you were saying, you still have the range of your spells. So yeah, I think that's something that people could consider. Is that also not only that, like the Lord of Change is quite fast. So being able to sort of in your movement phase jump them around the battlefield, if you've got a fight that you really need to stay locked in combat, being able to hop him over someplace and essentially maybe just catch them in the bubble, it definitely adds mobility on top of being a bubble. It's sort of like a mixed bag. But yeah, it's something to think about is that you can stack. It doesn't say you can't stack the -1 to hit. So you could make that pink horrors -2 to hit, 6 up save, 6 up feel no pain, or disgustingly resilient, or however you want to put it. So that can make them incredibly survivable. And then when they do die, they split again. So yeah, you can turn that unit to be impossibly difficult to ship if you want it to be, if you focus on it.
But the stacking sounds to me like rather unintentional, but still legal as by the wording.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if that would be changed rather quickly.
The rules say it's fine, so it's fine. It's an FAQ is yet to come out in about 3 weeks. We can expect one, as the Slaves of Darkness one zone just dropped.
That interpretation kind of reminds me of an issue I have at my local store with a Sigma player who figured out he can stack the Rune Lord's +1 to rend on the Iron Drakes.
Is that the person who's got 5 of the helicopters?
Yes, 5 helicopters, 3 Rune Priests, stacking their Iron Drakes up to a -4 rend. It's not fun.
I know. All I want to say about that is that you've told me this before, and I know it's obviously a problem for you and some other people in your store. Is it gyro bomb or gyrocopter? Let me get it right. Which one?
Gyrocopter.
Okay, but I love the fact that there is one shop in Germany where there's one guy running around with 5 gyrocopters terrorizing the store. If someone said that to me a year ago, I'd say that they were high on some sort of substance and probably arrest them at that point. You know, like, I would not think that would ever be a case. You know what? I know I'm sorry it's a bit of a pain for you, but good on him. He's probably waited. Well, I don't know. It might be a new season Sigma Army, but I really hope he's had those models for ages.
You're laughing, but look, when you're fielding 60 stabbers, and this guy moves up the field with his gyrocopters, that's 300 dice he's throwing in your face.
It's brilliant though. It's better you have that than 3 keepers.
Yes.
At least the gyrocopters don't come back once you shot them down.
That's right. There's no cheese there on the gyrocopters, or less cheese.
You just got to play better, Max. I don't know what to say. Just roll more 6s. Not that rolling 6s would help you in that situation, but do you even get a save against them?
Yes, I do. In fact, my stabbers are remarkably resilient against the range combat. Normally, they have a 6-up save. With 10 or more models with shield, they have a 5-up save. Their Moon Icon gives them a 4-up save against range attacks, and there is the inbuilt spell for the Madcap Shaman, which gives them a 3-up save against range attacks.
Yep.
There you go. Good enough to complain about then. Right. Okay.
Well, 300 dice.
I'm joking, but at the same time though, good on that person. I don't know. I've never even fought a gyrocopter, let alone 5, which is probably, by the sounds of things, a good thing, a nice thing. Anyway, let's go back to Tzeentch. So you've then got the chain Covens, which, just to summarise this, essentially are the legions for Tzeentch. You know, like they are the mini allegiances you have within the army. You know, like Legions of Nagash, Legion of Blood, Legion of Night, etc. The Bone Reapers have their legions. The Daughters of Cain have their temples. The Deepkin have their enclaves, and I can't remember any others. But you guys know this, don't you?
Subfactions are so hot right now. Inside meme.
Yeah. To the point where like someone gets a battle tome, and for some reason there's no subfaction in there. It's just like, where my subfaction at, bro? It's just one of those, isn't it? Where you expect everything gets it. City Sigma, obviously the cities, the war clans. Well, you have 3, but there's Bone Reapers. You have 7, but there's only 1. Which is a real shame for those books, because like Bone Reapers, you just read it and go, oh, this is cool, that's cool. What does the second legion do? +1 save. I don't need to read anything else, but the last one just made the enemy -1 to bravery if they're within a certain range of my unit. This one gives me +1 save. It's just no comparison.
Tortured souls scream out, 2-up save on the Knight Cavaliers in cover.
What's that? A Mystic Shield? Yeah, re-rolling that one.
Even better, with a battalion, they can use that weird reroll all saves ability on the war score of their battle line for free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the Mortec guy. Anyway, this is not their video, so we'll stop talking about it because they will get their own video as everything does eventually. Right. Okay. So as you guys can probably see, the screen you're seeing is not the most interesting for this video because it's live recorded. But the reason I wanted to do that is purely so you guys can follow along with the rules. Hopefully you'll be able to read it depending on the device you're on, but you can sort of see where we're talking about. It's either this or just lots of pictures of Tzeentch models and stuff, which I'm sure you guys have seen many times before in all my other Tzeentch videos. Right, so we're going to move on to the next one. Just one thing to say, I'm related to this. I think I may have found a way to be able to upload my battle report with good quality on it, which I've edited on my phone. So hopefully that'll be uploaded on the 14th of the 1st, which is the night of recording this. So hopefully you guys will get a better battle report. Maybe I hope so. I've sacrificed many like kittens and stuff for this to happen, and I do not want their death and their blood on my hand to be in vain. Right, so going back to Tzeentch, and I think with quite a insidious way as well, for the Crystal Labyrinth. And this is all about their summoning, isn't it? I'll let you guys explain this because you probably know or have experienced it a little bit more than I have.
Yeah, so when you cast a spell or your opponent casts a spell, as long as the spell is successful and not unbound, you gain a fate point. You can spend those fate points to summon in a short term. And it ranges from 10 points to 30 points. And it gives you a whole variety of things to summon. I'm just making sure that they haven't changed the rules on where you summon them, which is no, so must be set up wholly within 12 inches of a friendly hero and more than 9 inches from any enemy units. And then you just take the fate points off, simply. But unlike Khorne, you don't lose any points you didn't spend.
No, and unlike Slaanesh, this is a lot better than depravity points. I've heard that, depravity points are things of the past, and it's all about the fate points.
Well,
I joke, but they're not bad though, are they? It's not the hardest way to summon, especially with an army where you've got a lot of casters.
I've got a question here that's rather important at our more experienced Tzeentch player. I've had a debate with a person at my store that said you could cast a spell without having a target within range to just generate those points.
Correct.
What's your take on that?
That's correct. So it's so I can only compare this to 40k. In 40k, you must pick a target, then cast a spell. There is no rules that say you must pick a target first and then cast your spell. You cast your spell and then pick a target.
It's true. The order of things is
yes,
as
and,
follows. Casting roll.
None of the spells say you must pick, and this is where so this was an old trick that I used to do, which would be to give essentially everything that I possibly could a different spell, and I just attempt to cast everything in one turn. Even if I didn't have a target, even if I cast Fold Reality when I didn't need to cast Fold Reality, which would let you bring Pink Horrors back, it doesn't say that I must cast the spell. It only says that you have to be successful in your cast and not unbound. So the unbinding happens before the spell is cast. And it is because of that order. So it is choose a spell, roll your dice, your opponent gets to unbind, then you choose a target, which is very, very important. So yes, you can cast spells without picking targets. There is nothing anywhere that I have seen, I may have missed it, but there is nothing in the rules that specifically state that cannot happen. So yes, you can cast as many spells as you like, as long as, one, they haven't been cast before, and two, your wizard knows it.
And let's just, for an example, I'm going to go to the Lord of Change and see what his spell says.
Well,
so, Lord of Change, Infernal Gateway, has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit. So, if successfully cast, then you pick the enemy unit.
It doesn't say you must pick an enemy unit. And that is important, because there are rules that say you must. So, if you look at Idenith, I think it's the Soul Scryer, basically when he comes in, he picks a unit that and the two units get, if you charge against that unit,
they get +3.
They must add 3 inches to the charge roll. It's not an if or a but, it's a must, and it is a specifically used word. It does not say that you have to pick. And
but all I'd say the counter of that is usually they would say you can pick.
So there's a reason that Pink Horrors lost the ability to pick from the lowers. And that's why. That has been a heated debate for as long as I can remember. And any tournament scene that I've been to, it's immediately said that no, because that's not how the casting system works in this game. In 40k, yes, you must pick a target, and it's either successful or not successful. Whereas in Age of Sigmar, you pick your spell, then you roll your dice. Your opponent gets a chance to unbind, and then you pick a target. So that spell can be successfully cast, and you can just not pick a target. It doesn't say you must pick a target, ever, in any spell.
This thing might end with Games Workshop posting another diagram for the sequencing of spells, as they did with the sequencing of attacks for the Keeper of Secrets role. I think it was a command trait, Strength of Godhood, which adds D3 at step 4 of the damage process.
Yes.
Yeah, they may do.
What will probably happen is they'll probably, if I believe that it's a big contributing factor as to why Pink Horrors got their own spell and can no longer take from the lore of fate, lore of change. Can't remember which lore it is.
I think it's change.
And that was because if you took your minimum 3 battle line as Pink Horrors, they all knew Arcane Bolt, they all knew Mystic Shield, and then you could just give them 3 spells that your Lord of Change didn't know, and your god summoner didn't know. So you would have basically 5 out of the 6 spells covered. So you could just spam spells, generate up fate points, and then basically spawn in horrors to your heart's content. And until I see a rule or an FAQ in the rule book for like an errata, that is the way I know it to be played.
Yeah. Just one thing I'd say about the, when it says you must, the saying, because it doesn't say you must, then you can just pick one. Like if I was to look at the Lord Change, another ability, it's not a spell, but another ability, it's called Spell Eater. Once per turn in your hero phase, you can pick one in the spell within 18 inches of this model. That's in the spells dispelled. So that's what I was saying, just about where instead of it saying you must, it say you can.
Yeah, so the trick with that is they have to put you can, because if you don't, essentially that ability would go off every turn.
And that might just eat your wonderful parchment curse and the spell that you want to keep out.
Yeah. Exactly. It is specifically put there as a protection for yourself. So, as rules as written, which is what it is no, Age of Sigmar, you do not have to pick a unit to cast the spell on. You need only attempt to cast the spell.
So it's a case of if I got a spell, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, I cast the spell, there's no enemy unit within 18 inches, nothing happens. It's like it's not a case of you're looking at casting a spell and picking that unit all in the same all in that one go at the same time. It's stages, so it's stages, yeah. So you cast it and then you pick.
For new players to understand essentially the order in which things happen. If you watch a lot of line, a lot of these things get glossed over, and it's hard for new players to spot these sort of nuances in the rules because everybody sort of floods all the phases together, whereas that's not how it's played. You play it step by step, and if you play it step by step, technically that is correct. But I do expect to see an FAQ of that because it has been brought up for a long time.
There will be one.
And this is probably the time for them to do it.
It's like, also, I'm not a master of the English language, so I can't on literature, so I can't really say. But all I know is like if I was to read that spell it's not just for the Lord of Change, but that's just the one I got open. Infernal Gateway has casting value of 7, full stop. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster that is visible to it, and roll 9 dice. So there's a comma in between if successfully cast, and then pick one. So like
success is determined before the target is chosen.
That's what it indicates to me. So I would agree with you both on that. But yeah, so that's quite an interesting topic of that to talk about. And like I say, they probably will just directly say what the sequences are, and that'll be good for everyone. But talking about so the summoning of demons is each. So we talk about how they are summoned through the fate points. What do we think of the summoning for Tzeentch then as a whole? Like the sort of the chart, what you can summon, how expensive it is, and fate points. Is it good? Is it bad? What are we thinking?
I would say some of the prices are a bit weird to me. I don't see why I would ever summon 10 Brimstone Horrors of Tzeentch when I could, for the same costs, summon 10 Blue Horrors of Tzeentch, which then turn upon death into Brimstone Horrors.
Yes.
I've just seen that, and yes, I why.
I agree. There used to be, and I can't see it now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it used to be that you had to have a minimum of 10 points to summon, which sounds very silly, but I think they've actually removed that rule, and that goes into one of the covens, because one of the covens lets you summon a Gribbly on 9 points, and that would have been a very big mistake if they had not changed that rule, and I think they have changed that rule. In the back of my board. But I'm sure that was the old rule, so that rule is gone. You no longer need to have a minimum of 10 points to summon, and that seems silly if you look at the Crystal Labyrinth summoning chart, but it's important for one of the covens, so that's just something to keep in mind if you're an old player and you've not hard read those rules, the rules for it. I think that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a solid point. And
may I direct another question at you as the experienced Tzeentch player? which is when you summon another spellcaster, does that spellcaster then get to choose from the spell laws?
Now, that's always been something I have had debated.
Because I've heard people say opposite. So I personally, I don't know. I've only just heard, basically today, from another YouTuber that it does. You can generate a spell from that lore, but I don't see where you can. So, Martin, sorry, I interrupt. So I'll let you finish.
So I don't know. I can't remember the old. I think they have changed this because I'm sure the old descriptions on the War Scrolls would say something along the lines of this model will know who can cast to and unbind to. It knows X, Y, and Z spells and a spell from this place. So it would say from the Lore of Change, for example. Whereas on the War Scrolls, it doesn't specifically state that anymore. It only states that they cast to, unbind to, and the spells that are inherently on the War Scrolls. So I think no. I think with the new summoning system, you cannot give them something from the lores. Again, I stand to be corrected, but rules as written, it does not state that. If you look at the War Scroll for the Lord of Change, it says he can cast to, he can unbind to, and he knows Mystic Shield, Arcane Bolt, and Infernal Gateway. It does not say that he knows additional spells from the Lore of Change.
Yeah.
So
and if you...
that's a. I'm sorry, I just one thing quick because that's a really important distinction because that makes the specific cult that can summon additional Lords of Change. That has quite the impact on that cult, I believe.
It most certainly does, because Rule of One states you can only cast Infernal Gateway once.
Yeah,
so
they're not nearly as valuable.
Yeah, so spamming out Lords of Change might not actually be as powerful as people are thinking.
However, though, for a Games Workshop salesman, buy as many Lords of Change. They are great models. But joking, not one of those. But yeah, I'm just reading like the spell laws. If you go to that part, I know, like we said, we're going to start at the front of the book and then make our way through. But these things just happen to come up. So looking at the spell laws, it says you can choose or roll. Nobody rolls for one spell from one of the following tables for each Tzeentch wizard hero in a Tzeentch army. So for me, is that your army at any point on the board? Or is it your army as your army list is written? And I believe it's as your army list is written. That's how I see it.
Yes, because if you write a list, even if you use Games Workshop's War Scroll Builder,
you say the spells, don't you?
You have to pick. You don't have to pick. Nowhere does it say you must pick. That's also an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
But nowhere does it. But when you pick, it is printed onto your list. And that would be considered set in stone if you were running a tournament. So, again, another thing that they need to FAQ, they need to make these things clear, because it is very important.
Yeah, that's also, as the summoning says, once per turn at the end of your movement phase, you can spend fate points to summon one unit from the list opposite to the battlefield, and add it to your army. That addition might be significant.
Yes,
it might not
be. So for me, it's a contradiction of words. The War Scrolls are meant to be set in stone. They don't have any ambiguity about them, and it specifically does not state that you can take from any of the lores. The only distinction is when you actually go to those lores, and it says that you can take, a Tzeentch mortal can take X, Y, and Z, but it does not state how many, when it's always one, but how many, or at what point do they apply? And it's important because we've just spoken about, casting spells and the order in which you do things, which is very important. Does it make that distinction? I would run it that it would be no, but I'm all in favour of saying yes as well. I'm kind of in the middle, but I think that it's no, because it doesn't state on the War Scroll.
One could argue that the spell is added when the model itself is added to your army, which is pairs of the wording of the summoning table.
Yeah.
It does at that very moment. So that's very debatable.
Yes, and that's what I mean. They've left that open to so much argument. And again, if I was playing in a store and that rule was brought up before the game started, and my opponent said, look, I've taken this change Coven, I'm playing Tzeentch, I don't know if I can do that or not. In the spirit of competition, I would just say, yes, just do it. Pick a spell and go for it, because I think it's important, because it kind of neuters the whole point of having the Lords of Change and investing in that Coven. However, at a tournament, I think a lot of people would say no.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know, in all honesty. I think maybe an FAQ will come out, or maybe, who knows, in case it gets pointed out there's already a small FAQ that they did ages ago and that they've told us, because it won't just be for Tzeentch, it'll be for the other armies that can summon, Senet, I think Senet can do it, and other things as well. But the spells, so what are we thinking? So 30 fate points for, I know you can get Lords of Change other ways, but 30 fate points for a Lord of Change is how you would normally get it. Too much? Too little? Alright?
It might be too late in the game, in my honest opinion, because at this point, when you've cast 30 spells, you might only have 2 hero phases left in the game.
Yes, and
which is when he shines.
Yeah, is he going to make a difference at that point? I think it comes down to it as well. Tzeentch is balanced funny, because if you're playing against another spellcaster army, Tzeentch technically is in its element, because you essentially absorb fate points when they cast spells. But if you're playing against the KO or even an Ideneth without, an Eidolon or a Tidecaster, or you're playing against Stormcast with no spellcasting, you're only getting one half of the benefit, and this is like the Locus of Change. Everything in this book seems to work in halves. It's almost like this is the best way to have it, but we've made a contingency plan, but the contingency plan isn't that great. I've played many a game where my opponent forgets that I'm generating fate points. They're starting to cast spells, and then I bang down, blue horrors out of nowhere, and they go, wait a minute, how did you do that? Well, you've been casting spells, so I got those 2 extra fate points. That's pushed me over the edge. That's given me the advantage. I like fate points, but with the changes to the horrors rules, I don't know if they are the way to go anymore.
You sure?
I'm certain that pink horrors for 20 is way more significant than 10 blue horrors for 10. I would probably always summon the pink horrors, because those balloon out into 20 blue horrors, which then balloon out into 20 brimstone horrors, which has, the exact, which is just way more for just double the points.
Yeah, you're getting more for your buck, aren't you?
However, having played games of Tzeentch, on average, you're going to average, and this was when pink horrors could cast from other lores and stuff as well, you're going to average usually between sort of 6 to 9 points in your turn. If you're really lucky, you'll get to around 9. If your opponent's got no spellcasters, you have to essentially hope that you get a second round of casting that is like that. Now, by round 2, your opponent and you are already face to face. And bear in mind the summoning rule that applies, that has to be wholly within 12 inches of your caster and 9 inches away from any enemy unit. Your casters, as a Tzeentch army, are target number 1. If your opponent can deep strike anything in, you best believe that it's going to be in your back line, or the Gaunt Summoner. So I think it comes down to the point of board control, and if you are going to spend points being able to summon in blue horrors, although yes, not as efficient as pink horrors, at those stages in the game is going to be important, because that screens out your back line as well. So being able to drop down 10 blue horrors behind your Lord of Change is denying your opponent access to their back and to your corners of the table.
Or if you just need to leave something on a back objective or something. I mean, because 10 brimstone horrors will turn into 10... 10 blue horrors will turn into 10 brimstone.
Yeah, so I think good models to summon would be things like your Fluxmaster, for example, because he is a hero. He's a Tzeentch hero, demon hero, which means he gets the summoning bubble, but he can also cast spells. He'll also give your Locus. So I think they flipped it to make it so it's put your models on the table, and as they die, they sort of spread out. And I think they've kind of went to the point where it's when you're summoning stuff in, you want heroes because they now buff your demons, and they can cast spells, and you know they've got all these other sort of situations. I think fate points is, for me, has changed a lot in what I'm going to be doing with them, and it's purely down to the rule change on Pink Horrors. But getting to 20 fate points is not always guaranteed in any game, and building a strategy around fate points is very, very. It used to be very easy. Now I think it will be a little bit more difficult.
Would you say, like, well, if you look at Tzeentch, I know they've changed a little bit with their depravity points. It's not quite as good as it was, but still quite good. Still very good. And they used to, like, their army list would sort of be built around bringing back your keepers if and when they die. But that's pretty much how they work. With the Tzeentch, on the other hand, it looked more upon like it's a bonus. Don't plan your whole lists around it, but it's a nice bonus. You have the possibility to reinforce your army a little bit. Maybe if you need to quickly get some screamers to do the fast movement to get that objective over there, you have the possibility.
So
gives you a bit of a toolbox.
Yeah, so with Tzeentch, you're casting spells anyway. I can't speak for every Tzeentch player, and you may be totally different from the way I look at it, but I want as many spells squeezed into a list as I can. Before it was for the fate points, but now it's more for the mortal wound output, and that's just an added bonus. If I can drop in, even 10 blue horrors, 10 brimstones here behind my heroes to protect them from rear charges from, Idenith coming on the corner of the board, I think that's very important, and I think that changes up how they play.
And what I also say about that is, when you say, like, you're getting them for free, aren't you? The fate points, essentially. You're casting and you're getting them. If you compare them to something like Seraphon at the moment, because I'm sure they're going to get an update at some point, but at the moment, they sacrifice casting a spell of one of their slans to get points.
Yes.
And I'm not saying, like, the points are equal to the points for the Tzeentch, but, at least you're not sacrificing anything. And if your enemy gets a spell off, and for some reason in your Tzeentch army you can't unbind it because they're gash and casting on like a 15 or something, at least you can say, well, I've got an extra fate point.
Yes. And the other thing as well is the implication for those armies is very, very different. Tzeentch is never looking to summon in a model that's going to outright win the combat phase. It's not summoning models that's going to outright swing the shooting phase. You're using them as a screen to protect your casters. So whereas the Seraphon are summoning them in to essentially be an extra unit that is getting into melee or is holding an objective, whatever, Tzeentch is going to use it more, I think, defensively rather than offensively.
To me, it looks like Tzeentch is more of a diverse toolbox for what you need just this moment, so you can say just as planned. Because at the end of the movement phase, if you just need that little bit of extra damage, 3 flamers for 18 points sound very tempting.
Yes.
Yeah. That's true. If you just need that extra bit of range just to help you take that one objective at the back where you're going to send, pardon me, like 3 screamers or something at it.
Yeah, it's nice because if you have them and you're not putting them in your list, being able to actually just find a use for them is quite nice, and I think that gives models that I wouldn't personally take, like the Screamers. I don't take Screamers. That gives them the ability for you to go, actually, if I can, this might get me that extra objective that I didn't think I was going to get, or at least contest it.
Yeah.
So I think the implication's similar, but I think for me personally has changed. I think I would play fate points as more of a defensive tool rather than an offensive tool.
Yeah, and also by just psychological, it's something your opponent's going to have to be aware of, that you could bring some, summon some more guys on. Even if it's not the most potent summoning, it's still, good summoning. The other thing, I think, for me, if I was an opponent to a Tzeentch army, which I haven't been for quite some time, but if I was to like an army today, and if I hadn't already read the book and my opponent says to me, "Oh yeah, by the way, every time you cast a spell, you're going to give me fate points that adds towards my summoning." Straight away, I'd be thinking like, "Ooh, that's a bit." Especially if I'm taking Nagash and I'm like casting like, let's say I cast like 5 spells I need to cast, and then I get to the point where I'm like, I could do an arcane bolt to do like, 1 or 2 mortal wounds, but is it really necessary? I'm going to give them another fate point. So it plays psychological, and then your opponent's going to be making simple mistakes. For me, that's how I see it as well.
That also has some nice machinations with some models. For example, the Curseling, which you want those fate points. So when you unbind the spell, you're denying yourself a fate point. So why not unbind it with a Curseling, which then can immediately attempt to cast that spell to salvage that fate point for you?
That's true. It's the same with the Lord of Change. He can do that, can't he? And the Change can't do it, but the Lord of Change can do it as well. He can do something along those lines.
No, he learns the spell.
Oh, he learns the spell.
Yeah, whereas the Changeling can cast in your opponent's hero phase when he unbinds the spell immediately.
So because the Lord of Change, he has spell thief. So if this model successfully unbinds an enemy spell with an unbinding roll of the 9+, this model can attempt to cast that spell if it is not possible for it to do so. So if it is possible for it to do so for the rest of the battle, so it's for later. But yeah, it's cool. So you have got reasons to unbind as well.
Yes, the Curseling is the prime example. I'm going to just read the rule. If this model successfully unbinds a spell that is possible for it to cast, it can immediately attempt to cast that spell, even though it is the enemy hero phase. If that spell is successfully cast, it cannot be unbound. So that's a good way to turn unbinds into fate points as well.
Yep.
Well, you can actually turn things like arcane bolts back at your opponent. So it's not so great for if they're buffing or if they're specifically keyworded to a specific army. But yes, when it comes to things like damaging, it's basically meant to be that if it's damaging spells or hindering spells like -1s to hit or half in charge moves or anything like that, you can throw it back at your opponent, which is very helpful. And as you say, Mary, you get the fate point. You technically get the fate point. So it's a win-win in that scenario.
Yeah, and all I say is I was unfortunate enough to try and cast Curse of Years at a tournament at Warhammer World. It was unbound by the Curse thing, and this was back when Curse of Years could auto-delete a unit, and my 4 Morghast were no more. So and that's after I lost Nagash in that game as well, so that went horrendously wrong. And I just remember a point where I was like, I'm going to cast Curse of Years, and my opponent goes, I've unbound it with the Curse thing, and I was like, oh, that's annoying. And then he goes like, now I learn it, and I didn't know that at the point, and I was like, great, that's the last of my worries now that I've had my Curse of Years stolen from me. You're like 440 point unit, how much it cost back then of Morghast is dead, and I'm like, yay. Have you still got those 2 Lords of Change and that Bloodthirster coming at me because it was doubles? But so it is solid, and we sort of talked about this before, we can talk about it later and everything, but that's the thing about the Tzeentch army. It doesn't play by the normal rules. It catches out your opponent on things, which is I think one of the main appeals to the army. It plays very sort of excitingly and differently to a lot of other armies out there. It's all represents change in a very good way. Simply as and I think more cleverly done than something like Khorne. I like Khorne, but Khorne is just like, Khorne is all about combat bust for everyone sort of thing. While Tzeentch actually plays with the mechanics of the game, which is which I imagine is like easy to start with and learn, but hard to master, which I think's cool. And I imagine that's why it appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I talked about that for quite a while. So let's move on to the next thing, which is going to be talking about the Gifts of Worship, which is a new battle trait and quite a nice one as well. Some of these are quite easy to get off.
Yeah, those hidden agendas are probably my favorite part about this book. It's what I looked at when I was deciding whether I want to start with a Tzeentch or not. They're not the most impressive rules, but there are some big brain plays in there that you could pull off in some cases. Yeah, it's not going to work all the time, but it's fun.
Yeah, some of them are hard to get, but then some of them are like what's that? Mass Conjuration. Pick a friendly Tzeentch wizard. If the wizard successfully casts 2 spells or endless spells in that hero phase with an unmodified casting of a 9+. Neither of the spells are unbound. Add 1 to casting rolls for that is each weird. That is each wizard that completed that agenda, which isn't the best one. But I mean, if you really want to get your Lord of Change to do it, you can.
There is actually other ways to make that not just happen on demons, and it goes in the form of, I think it's the Balewind Vortex. Is it the Balewind Vortex? When you cast the Balewind Vortex, it basically counts as a spell, but you may cast another spell.
Yep, that's true.
What that means is that gives your mortals, who most of the time, I don't think any of the mortals can cast 2 spells. It gives them the ability to actually achieve this.
Yeah, that's true. That's solid. And just to say, before we go into firstly, I'll just actually read out the rule. So these are gifts of worship. So at the start of your hero phase, you can say that your army intends to complete one of the following agendas. Before the start of your next hero phase, you must tell your opponent which agenda you intend to complete, and you cannot complete the same agenda more than once per battle. If a friendly Tzeentch unit completes one of the following agendas during a battle, that unit gains that agenda ability for the rest of the battle. Friendly Tzeentch units that complete more than one agenda must choose which ability they wish to keep. Any other abilities gained through the battle trait are lost. So you only can have 1 per unit, but obviously some units are going to be better at doing things than others. So like you say, if you had a Magister on foot for the mass conjuration, like you were saying, Martin, the Balewind Vortex, he could get away with doing that. Because also, as it says, endless spells, so it's specifically like put in there. Whereas he wouldn't be as good for things like, Reckless Abaddon, which is going to help his combat effectively. You might pick that on your Enlightened unit or something. So there's a variety of ones in here. They're not all just for spellcasters, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
My personal favorite would be the Tides of Anarchy. I'll just read it. If a friendly Tzeentch unit that has 9 or more models gains control of an objective that was controlled by your opponent at the start of your hero phase, this agenda is completed. The friendly Tzeentch unit must have 9 or more models when it gains control of the objective. The reward is that each of those models now count as 2 models for holding that specific objective. The reason I like that is because I was thinking of a scenario that might happen relatively often, which is charging 2 equally sized units of battle line at one another to take care of an objective. Let's say you charge 10 pink horrors at 10 arcanauts holding an objective. Whether you win or not doesn't matter. The unit of pink horrors will balloon out with each slain model, gaining in numbers, taking the objectives, and then securing it by counting as twice as much.
Yeah, because they're getting literally physically getting double the amount because of the blue horrors. And then that being like quadrupled. I do really like that. I also like the fact that it just turns those models into ogres for the same ability, which is cool. Yes. Which is the ogre battle traits do that. I know people say the ogre battle tome isn't the most competitive, and maybe it's not, but I do think the ability of having 1 model count as 2 is great. Even if you don't like, I think your idea, Max, about getting your pink horrors into the combat, and when they die, turn to blue horrors, and there's 2 of them. That's better than what I was going to say. What I was going to say is if you even don't want to charge that unit, but the enemy is just sitting on the edge of an objective, if you stay 3 inches away from the enemy unit, because you're not going to win in combat, but each one of your models counts as 2 models. Let's say you've done your pink horror and blue horror scenario, and then they go to try and take another objective. They could outweigh the enemy in numbers, even if they don't get stuck into combat. Do you sort of see where I'm coming from?
Yes.
Because that actually doesn't work. It says when determining control of that objective, which to me says it's just for that one objective they just took.
Yes.
Oh,
I think
okay,
it doesn't work for additional objectives.
So I'll let you come in here, Martin. So what are you going to say?
So I was just about to say, it's specific to that objective, not just an objective, it's that objective.
So if it was objective like number 1 in the enemy backfield, would that mean that if the enemy recontrols that one later and your unit's still alive, you can go back there and you'd still count as 2 models per 1?
Yes. And it's that objective.
Got it. So if you're playing things where only have relocation orb. There's only one objective on that, isn't there? Relocation orb.
Yeah, and taking that will be very easy with some of the battalions that Tzeentch has. There's one of them which allows 2 of your units to deep strike every turn.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
what I like about these gifts of worship is that you can pick any of these varying on your circumstance. If you're fighting against an army that's Stormcast, the chances are that you're going to outnumber them anyway. So it might not be so great in that regard, but if you're fighting against, Death, who's maybe taking 40 40-man skeleton blobs, being able to actually, as you say, gain models back as you die, but also take their models away, and then that tips you in the balance of potentially having more models. It makes your opponent actually be concerned about that 10-man blob of pink horrors multiplying out and essentially holding an objective. But I like the fact that these are situational, because it means that every game you can essentially pick which one suits you best.
Yeah, I exactly agree. And that is what we mentioned already about Tzeentch, isn't it? It's a very flexible army for situations.
And in every scenario you can say just as planned, because that's Tzeentch.
It's almost like how I like to look at it as some armies that don't compete in every phase, which is obviously true. Like Death usually doesn't compete in shooting, for example. And when it comes to trying to make Death compete in shooting, take away the catapults from the Bone Reapers, it's almost like trying to get a child with one of those wooden cutouts for putting shapes into, where there's a triangle shape, a circle, a square, and then the kid's just trying to put the triangle into the circle, and it's just not working. Or the circle into the triangle is probably a better example, and it's just not working. Tzeentch, on the other hand, is the one quiet child who just sits in the corner of the room and actually just turns the triangle shape that's cut out into a circle, and then the circle now fits through it. That's it. Just molds things for its purpose.
So there's one that really stands out for me.
Yep.
And that mixes with how the cults or the Covens work and how Arcanites have changed and have become definitely more of a threat, because Arcanites are still actually quite good in close combat for being a battle line unit. Yes, they're entirely made out of paper, but the fact that if you give them Reckless Abandon, you're getting Reckless Abandon. At the start of your charge phase, pick one friendly Tzeentch unit that is 9 inches or more from enemy units. If that unit ends a charge move in the charge phase within half an inch, the agenda is complete. The ability is add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by that unit that completed this agenda if the charge move is in the same turn. So what that means is that 30-man unit of Arcanites that made the 9-inch charge just got 30 more attacks. That's something to consider.
Yeah.
Considering now that their sorcery is much better and they can cast spells. So all of a sudden, that 30-man unit of Arcanites just became incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, and in combat they have their standard attack is 1 inch range, one attack, force to hit, freeze to wound, no rend, 1 damage. However, that is going to be the case if they're carrying a shield, which gives them basically a ward save, a 6-up death save.
Yep.
Or they can be given a pair of weapons, which allows you to re-roll those hit rolls. So that is 1 attack, hit on 4s, wound on freeze, no rend, and 1 damage, but you're re-rolling those hits. Or they can be given the Cursed Glaive Blade, and when I say they can be given 3 in 10 models, so quite a bit, a decent amount. Can be given that, and that is 1 attack, force hit, freeze wound, minus from rend, and 2 damage. So like you're saying, given the extra attacks, that would also apply to those with the glaive. So
you can, again, it becomes situational, so you're even putting that on pink horrors, or sorry, I should say a horror squad, is still very important, because if you're fighting against Slaanesh, even if you make the charge, they might get to attack you first. So they kill they kill 3 of your pink horrors, well, you're up 3 models. You're up 3 attacks, which actually means you're up 6 attacks. So that, I think, to me, 9-inch charge is achievable. Destiny dice. So, because it doesn't say an unmodified 9, it just says a 9. It's as long as they're outwith 9 inches. So you can make that happen. You can force that to happen, which means you can turn that unit that your opponent thought push over into quite a dangerous counter-attack. Again, it mixes well with the new things that they've done with the Covens and stuff that improve their shoot. So I think that's something good. That also applies to things like Enlightened on discs. That can turn them into blenders because they were already reasonably okay. I think another one that's quite good as well, which again, as you were saying, is about the nuances of the game, and this is catching your opponent, which is overthrow leaders. So a lot of the big hero models and stuff in the game now usually pack more than 9 wounds. Everybody that I can think of, if they're playing orcs, they're going to run the cabbage. If they're playing Tzeentch, they're going to run a lot of change. Slaanesh, Keepers of Secrets. Being able to charge a unit in and it kills something, and then you get a +1 to your save roll to an army that was already had quite bad saves. If you know it's going to happen that turn, you can make it happen essentially, and you're going to just make your units better for doing what you were going to be doing anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And a couple of things I just want to say as well is, like you say, Enlightened. This is add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons with an S. So your disc is going to get it as well. The beat's going to get it, and obviously their main weapon. And and like you say, it's something you're going to do anyway. There's nowhere here, unless I've massively missed something, which I'm pretty sure I haven't. There's nowhere here that says to do one of the gifts of worship, you have to be wholly within 12 inches of each hero. Blah blah blah. It is just pick one, do what you want. And when you say that on the charge, I don't know if this is the best thing to do as each, but if I'm just thinking, because Slaves Darkness player, I would consider allying like 5 Chaos Knights maybe on the charge. They do 2 damage with -2 rend with their glaives. You just give them an extra attack, so that's 3 attacks with that. No.
Or on Chaos Warriors that are essentially with rune shields that are impossibly difficult to shift anyway. Being able to make them more effective in a position that Tzeentch is not that great in anyway, it means that when you take allies, it also means that you can change the characteristic of that ally by being able to say, I want it to have this. And again, like for example, Reckless Abandon, it just says they have to be 9 inches away and ½ an inch. It does not say that you cannot use Destiny dice to make it a 9-inch charge.
Oh, there you go. That's that. And I imagine obviously it depends on how lucky you roll your Destiny dice, but I imagine if you roll a few good dice, you're gonna save them for specific situations, and this may be one.
Well, that's it. It gives your Destiny dice. I'm going to use this to guarantee casting spells, or I'm going to guarantee this as battle shock. Now you can say, actually, no, I want that Cleric Acolyte unit in because I want them to get as many attacks as they can out before they die. Being able to give them, as I said, if you take a unit of 30, being able to give them potentially 30 more attacks is massive. It's huge. That's like having an extra unit bolted onto the back of them, and all you did was charge them in, which you were going to do anyway.
Yeah, agreed. And like I say, you're probably going to use it before, like things like your Cadillac, like or whatever you're going to use it on. But if for some reason you haven't used it because it just hasn't came up, and you get into the final turns, and it gets to that point where you have, I don't know, a unit in the backfield, your enemy, thinking about trying to charge the enemy and take the objective. You've got a Destiny dice so you can make the charge, but you're not too sure if your unit could just swing over the fence for combat effectiveness to beat the enemy unit off their objective and to take it. Given that unit of yours is going to make the charge, that extra attack may just do the trick.
Okay, don't get me wrong, there are ways. I think some of the agendas kind of feel like the more early game agendas. So that charge one is very, very good, but a clever opponent will finish a move within 8 inches because then it's denied. It's not make a 9-inch charge, it's more than 9 inches away. So yes, although these things are very, very good and can be very helpful, for new players and for everyone, read the rules properly. Don't glance over them, read them properly because they are very specific.
I wasn't glancing over it. I read it fully. No, I'm joking. I missed the.
Aha, you see?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
This
But you
I
said-
always come back to my gets with this. As a gets player, this gives me a very easy out. I could just deploy my fanatics within 3 of my units, therefore cutting your charge short and completely denying this ability.
Yes. So that's it there. If you can get them off, or if you're set up, so ideally what you want is in turn 1, you actually want to go second. Because your opponent is going to get closer to you. This is going to allow you to dictate the flow of these. However, I don't know if these are that powerful, because I haven't used them yet, to say that it's worth, risking deep strike, it's worth risking getting, alpha strike or anything like that. I don't know yet, but they seem okay on paper, but actually playing them, I do not know yet. I mean, there's one that I think will be very good for the Enlightened, which is, I think it's Ninefold Dismemberment, which is pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. If that unit is destroyed before the end of the turn, this agenda is complete. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Tzeentch units that destroyed that unit, and that completes the agenda. So if you've managed to get, your Enlightened or a big blob of Zangors into combat, and they've managed to glass down a small elite unit, giving them this agenda because you know it will happen, because it doesn't have to be all in one combat phase. You can pick the agenda at the start of your hero phase. So even if last turn you manage to get them down to a man, and you know you're going to kill them the following turn, being able to say, well, I'll give them +1 to hit, takes that Zangor unit and makes them very, very powerful, or that Acolyte unit makes them powerful. As long as they've got more than 9 models, it's great. But against things like Stormcast, who take, minimum size, a lot of players take minimum sized units, it's going to be hard to achieve some of these. So I like how there is a mix of things, that it's not all about, kill this or do that. Some of them are, just make a charge, essentially just make a 9-inch charge and you will get this ability. But yes, I think they're good, but I haven't played them yet, so I don't know how they're going to be on paper. But as far as I'm concerned, as long as I remember to use them, if they go off, it is a bonus that I wasn't getting before.
Yeah, it's an extra ability, isn't it? It's almost like, in a different way, it's almost like the -1 to hit rolls against your, Tzeentch demons. It's an extra bonus.
It's almost like an internal command ability.
Yes, and you're not spending a command point.
Reminds me of. That's how I think of them, is that if I achieve it, this one unit will get that benefit, but a lot of the benefits that you get are things that command abilities are given to from other, characters or heroes and stuff. So being able to essentially have 6 extra command abilities to deploy in a game is very helpful.
Yeah, and what do you think about the 2 remaining ones agendas then? So we've got start with the Overthrow Leader, which could be quite good if you know you're going to kill an enemy hero monster.
That's what I'm saying. It comes down to knowing, if you know it is going to happen, it is a very good ability because it is free. The only sort of time that it's going to become an issue is when you've got 2 or 3 agendas that could be achieved. And it comes down to, well, which one is more important? So I think Overthrow Leader, what it gives you for what you have to do is not that great. Getting +1 to save is okay, but Tzeentch doesn't have the best saves anyway, and units that are going to benefit are going to have to be fast, because they're going to have to get to your opponent's hero models or monster. And a savvy player is going to know that they're going to be the first target, just as like your Lord target for somebody. Having to single them out is okay, but again, there are a lot of models that have got 9 or plus wounds. It doesn't say that you have to. It just says a wounds characteristic. It doesn't say So that's important because it doesn't because it makes the distinction between what they have on their war scroll and what they have on the battlefield. So even if you've got Keeper of Secrets, it's got 1 wound left.
Yeah, you still get
had a wounds characteristic greater of 9, so you can still pick this.
Yeah,
so
and then there's also the 9-fold dismantlement, is it called? Which is the pick an enemy unit of 9 or more models. If it is destroyed, is each unit that destroyed it add 1 to hit rolls.
So again, situational, but again, it doesn't all have to be. You don't have to take that full unit in one turn. If they've got 20 models and in the first turn you take off 9, in the second turn you can still achieve that agenda.
So it's almost quite a good one to do from the start if you have no reason to do another one.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're in a position where you don't need that ability, or there is a more prevalent one there, then fine. But I think players will have to watch that they're not aiming for these agendas. I think that's probably the best advice I could give, would be don't aim to make these agendas happen. Just if they're going to happen, accept them as a bonus. Take the bonuses when you can, but don't sacrifice a charge,
just
keep
to get
9 inches out just to get the extra attack. If you know that you're going to defeat that opponent or that particular unit or model, go for that victory, because the extra attacks, although they might guarantee it to die, you might fail the charge. If you've no destiny dice left, don't take the risks to make these happen. I don't think they're worth the risk, especially like the Mass Conjuration one, +1 to cast. The really only reliable source that you're going to get that from, because of the new wording of Destiny Dice, is going to be the Lord of Change. Because to get that to go off and guarantee it to go off, you're going to have to spend 4 Destiny Dice to make that happen. And that's
a way. Yeah, you'll be mad to do that.
If it happens, great. You've got +1 to cast. But I wouldn't go out of your way to make it happen.
No,
I don't think the benefit, if it was +3 to cast, God, I'd throw 10 Destiny dice if it. But the whole point is that to get the bonus, you've got to spend a lot. You've got to put yourself in specific positions to make it happen. I think the best one is the last one, which is number 6, which is if you contest an objective, and you successfully contest that objective, your models count as 2 on that objective. Because I think out of them all, that is naturally the most likely to occur.
Yeah, because the amount of times where, I don't know, even if there's like very minimum models left in that unit, and you go, the enemy's already got control of the objective, and you count out how many models you both got, and the enemy's got 5, and you've only got 5, they already control it, so then there's no, in most cases, there isn't a contestant. So
yes.
This could really make then you suddenly go, oh no, actually, I put this thing on them, so that's 10. So one thing I would say, especially for new players, not to try and give people not enough credit as they deserve, but maybe for new players, when you're in your hero phase, because if your first army is each in Age of Sigma, it's not impossible, but you've got a fair bit, of learning to do, because it's an army that you don't really want to make too many mistakes. So all I'm going to say is, make sure you have a good look at this. In your hero phases, and once you've read them all, you will understand what they are. Have maybe a quick glance just to go, it's my hero phase. It's the start of your hero phase, so you don't want to miss that out either. And you just go, start of my hero phase, look at these, is this going to happen this turn, is that going to happen this turn? And I can't really see any of these happening, so I'm going to go for 9-fold disarmament, because I know that unit in 1 or 2 turns is going to die over there, so I might as well get something. So it's something just to bear in mind, I think, of that. Moving on from that then, the next thing to talk about is the command traits, and there are going to be ones for Arcanite heroes, Mortal heroes, and Demon heroes. All I'm going to say, guys, I just need to quickly pop out and do something. I'll be back in a minute. As this video is essentially, it's a live video, I just couldn't get the live system to work, so there's no real editing to it and stuff, so unfortunately I can't pause it. But you guys are right to take the viewers through the command traits?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
I mean, Mir, is there any that stand out to you for the Arcanites?
Not really. I think Arcane Sacrifice might be cheesy, as in you can kill one of your demons to then force a battle shock test to try to get more of them back, even though they cannot fail by just losing one with their bravery of 10.
Yes.
2 additional spells doesn't seem that significant to me. Maybe the healing on a 2+, you heal D3 wounds, but then it very fighty.
Yes.
So
I agree. I mean, like the Demagogue one, where it gives you, if you roll a double, you get 2 fate points instead of 1. They don't have any inbuilt way to make that happen, so you're just relying on luck. So, yeah, I agree. I think Arcane Sacrifice is handy. Not only that, because it increases the range of the spells. So, being able to, make like a Magister's, I can't remember the name of the spell, but being able to increase his range by 6, turn 1, you might be able to pick something off with that, which will then cause issues for them. I think out of them all, I agree. I think really 6 is the only.
It's a bit cheesy because ideally you would do it on a pink horror, which splits into 2. Then you hope for a battle shock roll of 1, which adds the pink horror back into the game, having essentially increased the unit size by 2 without losing anything.
Yes.
But that's the best one I can see out of the the Arcanite traits.
Yeah, I agree. I think that pairs well with the Magister, because that takes their spell from 18 inches to 20. Is it 9 inches that they get a bonus? Hang on, I'll check. Yeah, 9 inches. So that takes it to a 27-inch cast. And if you manage to kill one of their models or slay one of their models, you get to put a chaos spawn somewhere, so you can reach up the board and gridlock a unit into combat for a turn. I think it's good to mix it with him, and as you say, mix it with the pink horror. So essentially what happens is you're getting a win-win. You're going to add models onto the table, you're going to take models from your opponent, and then you're going to add another model onto the table. But otherwise, knowing 2 spells, I don't think it's very good. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. So what else have we got? Tzeentch Mortal Hero Generals only. So Tzeentch Mortal Heroes Generals only get the command traits. If you had a...
They also don't seem all that great. The Illusionist, for example, is just a way for them to basically benefit from your Locus of Change,
Yes.
despite not being a demon, which doesn't sound all that significant to me. I would probably never make a mortal hero my general in a Tzeentch list.
Yes. I think getting Destiny dice back is nice, but again, you have to make them your general to benefit from that. And Soulburn, you don't really want your general in combat. Hey, if they're in combat, it's great if it goes off, but most of them have only got 2, maybe 3 attacks. Getting a 6, it gives them an extra mortal wound, but again, they're so soft. The return fire is going to be so horrendous that
the only one I could see that on would be the Ogroid Thaumaturge, and even that is not all that significant.
Yeah, because again, making him your general means you're taken away from someplace else.
Yes, especially with the Demons of Tzeentch having way more interesting traits, in my opinion.
Yes. We'll move on to Demon Heroes.
Yeah. Outstanding for me, first of all, Demon Spark. Just getting 3 fate points right out the bat might just speed up your first summon enough to get a unit to catch the enemy's charge. If he has something that you really don't want to charge into your lines, you could just put out a quick unit of 10 blue horrors maybe by turn 2 with those 3 extra points, if you're lucky.
Yes, I actually see the Demon Spark getting used in the Coven for summoning Lords of Change, because that's you essentially a third of the way there before the game really even starts. So that's massive. That's very, very good.
You've got a chance to that turn 1, haven't you? To get a demon. If you really put enough into it, you got a chance to get the Lord of Change turn 1, haven't you?
Basically, yeah, you can by at the end of turn 1, yeah, you've summoned a 300+ point model onto the table straight off the bat. I'm just having a quick look.
How many points is he? Just trying to see how many points the Lord changes.
I'll tell you.
And that Covenant should be
380 points.
9. Oh,
Bear in mind, though,
points.
like we were saying earlier, how I'm not saying this is exactly how it works, but how we think it works is that he wouldn't be able to pick a spell from the lore. So is he a 380 point?
Talking of spells,
Another change.
Arch Sorcerer is a command trait that is also part of the Arcanite list, but I only see it being useful on something like a Lot of Change, who can naturally cast more spells more reliably.
Yes. So even though it provides more utility, it doesn't really help. Nexus of Fate is the same, getting more Destiny dice. I think there are better options. Magical Supremacy, the 12-inch range to unbind and dispel endless spells. On a Curseling, it would be very good, but again, is it worth it? No.
Usually you can deploy reliably within 30 of the enemy wizards.
Yes, exactly. So,
If it used to be 18 inches, you know how it was, maybe, but 30,
Yeah, but
I don't know.
this trait would be good.
Yeah, I was going to say with and it's just to do unbind spells and dispel, end of spells. I think I don't know if it's just to my placement and my movement, but most times when I play a game, I think probably 1 or 2 out of 5 times I'm out of range to unbind.
yes, and especially if you're playing against aggressive army who don't have spell casting, it is an entirely wasted command trait. I think incorporeal form is good in some instances if you're playing against so if you're playing the mirror match, or if you're playing against like Death, who have access to a lot of wounding spells. Each time the general's affected by a spell or end a spell, you roll a dice. On a 5+, you ignore the effects of that spell. So, Arcan's ability to roll dice and basically kill you off the board, this can help stop stuff like that. But again, it's very situational. Whereas, as Mar was saying, Demon Spark will always benefit you in some capacity.
Yeah.
I think the only reason to ever take Arc Sorcerer on a Arcanite would be if you're running Kairos Fate Weaver.
Yes.
So to have that general act as a glorified spell battery for your mighty named demon, but even that it's niche. You don't really want that. It's only if you don't have any other heroes. Maybe if you're playing below 2,000 points.
Yeah, the other thing as well is that sort of rule of thumb, if you're playing mortals over demons, the mortals are cheaper than demons, so you're going to naturally get more mortal heroes into a list, which means you're going to absorb more of the spells from the lore quicker. And because you can't multicast spells, yes, you might be able to teach them 2 spells, but if you've got another 2 casters for mortal on the table, that's now 4 out of the 6 spells chosen, and you can't cast all 4 in one time, only over 3, so it doesn't feel like a strong payoff being able to give them an additional spell. And Aether Tether, adding 1 to save rolls for attacks that target this general, that's both in shooting and combat, is okay, but again, you don't really want your squishy demon generals to be getting in range, and giving them that +1 save, I don't think makes the difference enough.
Unless you want to do something funny like other lists do, give it to a Lot of Change, upping his save to a 3-up and giving him the Ethereal Amulet.
Yes.
But that's where you get into funny business territory.
Well, it's not that, it's what you're sacrificing to get that ability. That turns him into a very good unit, but I would rather have 2 Lords of Change at the end of turn 1.
That is very true.
Which is, that's almost an additional 400 points with all those wounds. It's got the Locus bubble, it's got the summoning bubble, it's got spells that it can access. So, if you ever feel burnt out with spells, you're able to essentially split your fire more reliably. So I think the Demon Spark for me, will be a go-to. Putting me a third of the way to a Lord of Change in the particular coven for them is very, very powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah, also seems to be the most significant one to me, except for maybe Arch Sorcerer on a, as I said, on a lot of change for additional spells.
Yes, being
Just
able to have a bigger pool to choose from can be very helpful.
Yes, definitely. So with that, we'll move on to the next thing, which is going to be artifacts, I believe, at this point in the book.
Yeah, Fate's artifacts. Yeah.
There we go. So the artifacts of power. So again, like we see a trend here, quite a few of the books as well. It's divided between mortals, arcanites, and demons. And demons get a couple to choose from. They're a bit spoiled. They get 3 more than the rest of them. So if we talk about the ones for mortal heroes, are there any that stand out to you at all?
One for me personally, which is the Nexus Staff, which can automatically unbind an endless spell with a 9 of the bearer, which can lead to some fun shenanigans, such as casting the Ether Void Pendulum, having it run over enemies, dealing d6 mortal wounds, moving your hero after it, dispelling it in the next hero phase, and recasting it again.
Yeah, that's true. That would be funny. For me, the biggest thing I see about this, and obviously this is situational, but it's just going to get rid of that bloody vortex from the Skaven.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to unbind. For Tzeentch, not really, I suppose, but for most other armies, it's quite hard to unbind.
It is a good defense, but even though I mentioned it as a fun, cheesy thing to do, the thing is, you can do that already with a lot of change with Spell Eater.
Yes.
So it is, when you play with lower point games when you have a lot of endless spells flying around. For example, the store I am playing at has tournaments at 1,000 points with 250 points reserved for battalion points, command points, and endless spells. You see a lot of endless spells. And those smaller games with endless spells, this staff is gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want that.
And in those smaller games, you might not have a lot of change.
Yes, exactly.
So if you got a lot of change, then I maybe wouldn't go for this. I certainly wouldn't give this to... I was going to say give it to a Lord of Change, but you can't obviously do that. But I think if you've got a Lord of Change, you don't really need it. I don't know, if you've gone heavy on that sort of side of things, you've got a Lord of Change and you've got Kai's Fate Wither, I wouldn't even consider giving one of your mortals this. But that is situational.
I don't really like any of them. The Paradoxal Shield is okay, but...
Yeah, this is one that's been around for a while, hasn't it?
I think it wouldn't be so bad if one of the traits was, one of the command traits was to give them +1 to their save. You could essentially give something a 2-up save, which would be nice, but they're very lackluster. They're all about, a lot of them are about combat. And yes, okay, the mortal heroes are better at combat to some degree,
but they're not combat monsters.
But they're not. It's not like Khorne. It's not where you want them to be. You don't want your Magister or the only one that really benefits from any of these is the Ogreoid.
Even that guy only has a 5-up save, so he's
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. It's being able to.
It's not. The thing is about this is that you're trying to toss up. Is it better to get +2 to your save than reroll all successful save? Is that and probably it is a better trade-off. But however, you're making a trade-off with an artifact. An artifact shouldn't be a case of a trade-off. What am I getting rid of to be able to get this? It should just be a case of the only thing you're getting rid of is not being able to give an artifact to someone else unless you've got a battalion or something. So already by having this conversation, it's not worth it.
So I think, like the Time Slip Pendant is a fantastic example of that. It lets you, once per battle, which really annoys me, it can fight, the bearer of this artifact can fight twice. I wish it was cast twice. So that would play into one of the other ability, being able to take, the 2 spells. But again, they picked so melee heavy. Even the Demon Heart, on paper, it's actually okay. Being able to guarantee 3 mortal wounds is usually enough to kill off an enemy hero, but they have to be in combat with you. So basically, every other hero in the game is going to kill you before you get a chance really to actually make use of this ability.
There's one character I could see that artifact on. That's the Fate Master, which is with his 16-inch move, he can get into combat and assassinate a squishy caster in the back line.
Yes,
But
again,
that's about it.
Again, yeah, that it's one instance of really where that would be handy, and it seems like the artifact made for Khorne, but given to Tzeentch.
Yeah, there is no use in having fantastical combat artifacts with a selection of terrible melee characters.
Yeah, 4-ups to hit, 4-ups to wound, 1 damage characters are not the place I want to be putting these kinds of artifacts.
Yeah.
No, not
So,
not at all.
and on paper, these artifacts are good, but they don't work with your loadout.
Yes, correct.
No, I would agree. And what do you think about the Arcanite ones? The Treasures of the Cults.
I'm just reading them quickly.
Yeah, that's fine. You got any thoughts, Max?
The Secret Eater, maybe to add additional Destiny dice to your pool. You would want that on a character that has a lot of attacks. But then again, you don't want your characters in combat.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I seem to remember this being a very similar case when I looked at the mortal artifacts and almost command traits as well for Tzeentch before, because I had many years ago, well, I say many, about 4 years ago, I had a Tzeentch army made out of Slates of Darkness, and I was like, I can't wait for that. Well, the first Tzeentch book to come out, because I'm finally going to be able to have some new shiny rules for my Slates of Darkness. Be great. They say Slates of Darkness can be in the army, it'd be fantastic. And then the book came, and it's like very clear they wanted you to buy the new models or demons, because of things like this. They make all your mortal sort of artifacts like, see, now you can take him, put him into combat, and it's like, well, unless I'm taking a demon prince, I don't really want him to be in combat. It's like my general back then, I think it was the Chaos Sorcerer Lord and Manticore, and it's like, I don't really want that in combat either.
It suffers from melee syndrome in the caster arm.
Yeah, they're all a bit lackluster. I mean, Spiteful Shield can be fun the problem is that some of them would combo very, very well. So Proxy or Shield would combo very well with Spiteful Shield, because you get you get +2 to your save, and essentially if you succeed you have to roll again. So you're getting that double chance to inflict 2 mortal wounds, but you can't take them together. So a model that's only got 5 wounds is probably only going to get 1 turn of actually attempting to make these artifacts any use, and the damage that it does will not be significant enough to make a massive difference. I mean, if your opponent hits you 6 times, statistically you're only going to get 1 6, so you're only going to ever get 2 wounds. At the absolute best, you've killed a Liberator. And is it worth that trade-off? And for the I can't see any position where I'm reading them and I keep reading them and I'm hoping that I find a wording thing that's very good. Can't see really any reason to take a mortal hero as my general and give them either these command traits or these artifacts, because they're not great. Okay, being able to, if you give your Curseling the one that gives him +12 to his unbinding rules, if you get second turn and your opponent's deployed outside of 30 inches, you're going to be able to get to unbind. But you're not going to get the same impact, because most spells nowadays are keyword specific, and it'll say give Fire Slayers this or give a death unit this. It doesn't let you change the wording to fit, so you're not going to ever really get such a great benefit out of giving these people this ability, other than denying yourself fate points.
Well, couldn't you still cast it? I mean, you successfully cast it, it cannot be unbound, then you select the target, which wouldn't that in turn still generate your fate point? Still
give you the fate point, but you're really only going to get the benefit for 1 turn.
So it is a reduced benefit, but it's still something.
Yeah, because I think the thing is you're only, realistically, going to be outside of 30 inches for one turn.
Yes.
And if you play against somebody who's like, I have Idenith, I play Idenith, I enjoy Idenith, they are hyper aggressive. I want them up in your face as quickly as possible. I am usually deployed on my edge. If it says I can deploy 9 inches in, I am on that 9-inch line with as much as I physically can, because I want first turn, I want to be up the board, and I want to be in your face. And again, you're not going to get the benefit out of that, because unless I take, one of my 3 caster models, you're not going to get that benefit, because I won't be casting anyway.
Yeah. For me, it looks like with Arcanite and Mortal Heroes, you would be way happier with some of the malign salt artifacts.
Yeah, there we go. It's not a case of there's no good artifacts to them, just the malign sorcery. If you haven't got malign sorcery, just get the Age of Sigmar gaming book. It's got everything in there that you need. That book is really good. Right, okay, so now to hopefully some things that are a bit more exciting. The demonic weapons. Again, guys, has anyone got any ones in particular they'd like to talk about with these?
No, they're all melee specific.
Okay.
The problem also is that you select one of the bearer's melee weapons. You could first think, the Lords of Change have so many melee attacks, but no, you choose one of those characteristics.
Yeah, is there one that can't even attack with its beak and claws or something? Is that a thing?
Well, they all have multiple attacks, but still you have to choose one of those weapons, which reduces the usefulness of those artifacts a lot.
Yeah. So
well, it's not that. I never take a Lord of Change with the Baleful Sword. I always give him the Rod of Sorcery, because I want to take advantage of the fact that I want to hit you before you get to me. Being able to give my Staff of Tzeentch, 4 attacks, doing something if I get this number, it's 4 attacks. It's not enough to really warrant giving them melee-centric focus. It's not the right army for that.
No, it's not. So, all right, well, we'll look past these ones then. But I think these ones, demonic powers, there's some here that are worth taking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely, it goes from sort of like 0 to, if not hero, pretty good.
Those are the best artifacts in this.
In the book.
In this book, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All of them are great. Especially, I like the aura.
Not a tough crowd. I was going to say, not really a tough lineup to beat, but yeah.
But
sorry.
Aura of Mutability, 1/2 wound rolls for attacks made by friendly Tzeentch demon units wholly within 9 of the bearer. That's great when you surround your hero with a bunch of flamers. That hurts.
Is that
melee
or is that? No, that's okay. That's great.
Just
I
like
that. I like the Wellspring of Might, because if you put that on a Lord of Change, if you fail a casting roll, you get a chance to re-roll it. If you use his command ability, which gives him bonuses to cast, and if you cast Chronomantic Cogs, he's got more abilities, it means you're not spending Destiny dice. And I can use them to do other things with.
That is true. That's true, yeah.
I like the Wellspring of Might. I think for me, it'll basically be an auto. The 9-inch bubble is very, very good. But when your Pink Horror Squad swells to, 20 models, do you really want your Lord of Change that close? No, because I've got an 18-inch shooting attack and I've got, 24-inch spell range.
Yeah, but that's why I would use it with smaller demon units such as Flamers and Exalted Flamers.
Yes.
For that type of army, it is great. That's the list I have in mind relies a lot of Flamers and Exalted Flamers and the Pyrophane Cult, I think it was, or the Sacred Immolation, whatever it is. That works great in that build.
Yes.
Just perfect.
And I totally agree. I think between the two, they fit the different demon playstyles very, very well. If you want, as you say, a Flamer heavy army, which is in small point games is horrific, is horrendous in 1,000-point games. Flamers can melt at face in small games. If you've got bigger point games, being able to cast your spells more reliably, generating those fate points is also always a bonus. So not only that, a lot of the spells are offensive. So being able to cast, D6 mortal wounds reliably is never a bad thing. Never a bad thing.
The best part of it is those are artifacts. You don't have only one of them. When you have a battalion, you have multiple of them.
Exactly. So you can stack up. You know, if you have Lords of Change and you have Flamers on the battlefield, if you find a way to mix the two together, you can essentially make your Flamers hit like trucks, and you can make your Lord of Change, or even a Gaunt Summoner, whose spell is still quite powerful, you can make them reliably dangerous.
And what's your yeah? And what's your thought on the last one then? Aspect of Tzeentch to try and recover your Destiny dice.
It's my mind. It's decent.
Every third Destiny dice you spent is going to come back on average. If that works out. So if you spend
overall,
3 Destiny dice are going to come back overall.
Yeah, it gives you a bit more control over the game when you combine that with some of the battalions, which can add additional Destiny dice to your pool. You can go a full-on Destiny build that has a lot of control over the flow of the game. When you add Kairos Fate Weaver in the mix, you can wreak havoc with your opponent's dice rolls.
Yes. I think the point that I'm seeing it now is my sort of view on Destiny dice is changed. If I can have a way to not spend them on spells, you're going to save a lot of Destiny dice. So for me, the Wellspring is for me as a go-to. I play, I always have a Lord of Change. He's one of my favourite models. I love his rules, and he's very, very powerful. But yeah, I think being able to pull back an additional dice here and there is good. But on my rolling, 90% of the time, I'm the person that rolls 5. So it's still quite a high gamble.
I mean, you still need to roll 5. I mean, for example, I haven't played with Tzeentch for a long time, but if I was compare it to my last game I had, I fought against Slaves of Darkness with my Nagash army, because I hadn't took Nagash out for a while, so I thought I'd take him out, build a list sort of to support him, and I fought against Be'lakor. Are we aware of what Be'lakor's ability is? So he secretly wrote down my unit called Nagash. Nagash had a turn 2 I believe, where he was quite in the thick of it. He had to roll a 5 up every time he wanted to cast a spell. I was casting 8 spells of him. I didn't get a single 5 up, not even a single one. And on average, I should have probably got 2, or at least 1. So I didn't get a single one. And then he went to movement. I managed to get a 5 up. Moved 2 inches, so I'd be 3 inches away from the enemy to make the charge. I then went to shoot the enemy unit. I couldn't do that because I didn't roll 5 up. I then went to charge the enemy unit. I couldn't do that because I didn't roll 5 up. So all he basically did was 880 point model, and then the rest of the list that was built around him, essentially, all he did was move 2 inches. So all I'm trying to say is, like I say, it says it's a third of the time that you're going to get these dice back, but don't rely on it. There'll be some games where you won't get it back at all.
Yeah, so from a competitive standpoint, and I know it's not all about, but I think it's an important point for especially players who maybe are thinking of and don't know what to take. I think an important thing is that when you're picking traits and stuff like that, you want something that is reliable. So if you have an ability that is just always on, so it's passive, that allows you to control how much you're spending on, attacks, rerolling attacks, all these kinds of things are always going to be better than attempting to get something back on a 5 or a 6. And that's what makes the mortal weapons bad, is that they always need 6s to do something. You've only got a 1 in 6 chance of doing it. Getting back a Destiny dice, you've got a 1 in 3 chance of doing it, but I will always be able to reroll my casting. It can't be switched off. It can't be nullified. There's nothing built into that model at that point, and it is reliable. It doesn't guarantee that I'm going to cast, but it increases my chances of not having to spend Destiny dice on that particular model. And I think that from a competitive standpoint, competitive player, and you are thinking about it, that's how I approach these kinds of rules. So for me, the Wellspring is very, very good. Being able to just not spend Destiny dice and keep them for save rolls, keep them for the to hit rolls, where I really need that model to die or really need that model to live, is better than having to spend 2 to make a cast achievable. So it's just something to think about, is all I would say.
Agreed. Passive abilities are fantastic. And like the Wellspring, just reroll and casting rolls. Is it reroll and casting and unbinding? Is that what I take it? Yeah, and
Yes,
unabiding. Yeah, it's just nice, simple, and a small sentence.
Yes, and it's easy to remember. You know that that's your Lord of Change, or that's your Gaunt Summoner, and he has that artifact. You can just re-roll stuff. It's
We have
easy
that.
to remember.
I'm sorry. And if you have that on a lot of change, it is very unlikely that your opponent will get any spell food that you already want to have unbound.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. And then also the aura of mutability. It's like if you don't want to, it's a very good one anyway. But if you don't want to completely fully rely on spells to do your damage to the enemy, it's another way you can make yourself offensive capable.
Yes, if you've got a very horde style army, you know, if you're taking lots of, you don't take pink horrors, you can still take blue horrors and brimstone horrors. You're making them, that mass of attacks, more reliable. However, you're essentially chaining the wielder of that artifact to a unit. So you're doing what your casters don't want to do, which is you are parading up the board. You don't want them to parade up the board. You want them to be away from the opponent, but close enough to cast spells. So again, it depends on what you're taking, but from what Tzeentch is good at, that's essentially putting them in a position, because every time you are allowing your opponent space to come in behind you.
Which is why I would always combine it with ranged units.
Yes. So putting it with flamers.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I forgot. I would expect that to just be melee weapons. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Shooting, yeah.
Also, it works with the Lord of Change's own weapon, because he is, of course, always in range of himself, and he is a Tzeentch demon, so his staff range attack also gets improved with that, which is just a small benefit.
Yeah, it can make it more reliable, but again, you're taking that, or are you going to take your rerolls to all your casts?
Well, when you have a battalion, why not both? I think those two are the clear winners in this book for me.
Yeah.
Yes, and again, it comes down to you play. If you play like a flamer heavy army, that adding 1 to wound rolls makes them from good to very reliable and very dangerous. But again, you put your rerolling casts. If you're a magic centric army, you are focusing heavily on the hero phase, then yes, they are both good, and I agree entirely. They are the winners of the book for me as well, and the only two that I will ever probably pick from.
But you only need two. Realistically, if you've got 3, then I don't know how many battalions. No, take 2 battalions. Anyway,
well, Tzeentch has enough good battalions that you might actually sometimes get 2, but very rarely.
Yep. But yeah, and that is a good point. That's cool as well, because like most other armies, no, not maybe 1, maybe. Right. So then to talk about the spell laws, which for most armies they have spell laws, and some of them are good and some are not. For Tzeentch, it's particularly important, the spell laws, and the first one we're going to look at is going to be called the Law of Fate. Now, I've had a quick chat to Martin about this beforehand, and I'm sure, I presume Max would agree, but I think the first one I want to talk about here is going to be Arcane Suggestion.
It is flexible, but for mortals and for Arcanites, a casting value of 8 is really hard to achieve without any casting support from like Blue Scribes or the command ability of a Lot of Change. It is really nice to have that flexibility, but a casting value of 8, that's high.
It's high, but you got to risk it for a biscuit.
Well, a point to make is that it used to be 7, now it's 8. But the trade-off is, the old rule is, you made the cast, and then you rolled a d3, and you got one of the 3 things randomly, and you couldn't target a hero or a monster. Whereas now, it's went up a point in casting value, but there is no restriction to who you cast it on, and you can pick. what effect you inflict. So from having to randomly get the spell through a random roll of dice on a cast, and then getting the one that you didn't actually want was very annoying and almost always made it not included. This is slightly better. I now have control over what I do.
Also, admittedly, it's a very powerful spell, especially the drop your weapon. Hit until your next hero phase, which also could cripple an opponent's double turn,
Yes.
is very powerful.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can now pick an enemy hero or a monster can turn that hero or monster from a blend into a, pillow-fisted creature.
Now add to that your demons are harder to hit by one anyway, so
Yes.
effectively making it so that your opponent mostly is going to hit on 5s and 6s, and even then, when that gets through, he wounds harder. That's great.
And what I would also say with this is a case of you can just trying to think the best way to describe it. So in Age of Sigmar, like I used to prefer to take like 2 big killer units or something in my army for tournaments and that sort of thing, and I let them do a lot of the work. Like I even took like a unit 6 Morgoth and Nagash or something. They're my 2 units that are going to do the rest. Everything else is just going to capture objectives. Things like this spell force you to have to now have 3 good offensive units, or maybe even 4 good offensive units. You can't just rely on 1 or 2, because if the enemy puts this on them, like you say, if the enemy so let's say I've got a unit of 6 Morgoths, the enemy has put this on me, and they put drop your weapons, subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls, which is massive for the Morgoths, and I get the double turn, and I need to take the double turn for objective reasons. That's 2 turns. My Death Star unit, if you like, has been incredibly nerfed by the enemy, debuffed.
Well, the fact as well that you can pick which one of the 3 you essentially affect, never underestimate the ability to put an extra mortal wounds on something. And bear in mind, you can cast this into combat. So if your opponent has charged a hero into, I don't know, a block of acolytes, and your acolytes have managed to get him down to 2 wounds, you're able to do D3 damage. There's a good chance that you're going to actually just pop that hero and free up your Arcanite. Or you can give him -1 to his save for the ability called Kneel, which means you can reliably kill something. If you take that unit of Stormcast that are really annoyingly making all their saves because you have very little range.
Oh, dear God.
Giving them -1 to save in that clinch moment, and it being your choice, is very, very powerful, and it's very psychological. Your opponent might have an army that relies on those saves, being able to pick and choose within 18 inches to make them less durable is very powerful. And again, if you've got a combat heavy Khorne, giving them negatives to hit is always going to make them a nightmare. And then being able to just say, actually, I'm going to do mortal wounds to that, is also helpful because it can guarantee that you do something. So I do like Arcane Suggestion. I like how they've changed the wording of the rules. I can now target things like Terrorgeist. I can now target things like heroes, and now I can pick what I do. It's still a casting value of 8. Yes, it's quite high, but again, you have Destiny dice. If you really need to make something pillow-fisted, then you have that ability to do that. You can just choose for that to happen. So I think Arcane Suggestion before was an auto not included, whereas now on something like a Gaunt Summoner who can take from the 2 lores, this is suddenly a little bit more interesting.
Still, when you attempt such a high spell, you might want to have something like the Blue Scribes nearby, that which allow the rerolling of casting rolls, or the Locus of Change command ability.
Well, bear in mind, the Gaunt Summoner also has the keyword and the Demon keyword, so he can still benefit from the Lord of Change's Beacon of Sorcery.
Yes, he would.
and he will still benefit pink horrors on their casting ability. So you can chain things together to help guarantee that you will do these things, which is something to consider.
It's a good flexible spell, and I think it's worth having in your arsenal.
And I think something else to speak about on a different spell, which is Bolt of, because I'm looking through stuff, and it's went from a casting value of 8 to a casting. It's like they've swapped the two casting values around, which is always nice.
Yeah, and a 7, obviously it doesn't always work out like this in practice, but a 7 on 2 dice is the average. So, and with each, there are many ways that we've already discussed to enhance that average.
It's your bigger, better Arcane Bolt.
Yeah,
way bigger and better.
D6 is fantastic. It's swingy, but D6 is excellent. If you land that 4 or a 5, and then you manage to get somebody else to cast, Arcane Suggestion, and they do D wounds, on average, you've done, 6 wounds. That's a lot of smaller heroes just dead from one round of casting. So, comboing up spells is very important.
Yeah, but in my opinion, these spells are good. They're one or two, I think 3 decent spells in this Law of Fate. But overall, the better spells tend to be on the war scrolls of the unit themselves, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, so the Magister's got the ability, the Fireball, I can't remember what it's got, I think it's Bolt of Change. And if he inflicts a wound and it removes a model, you can pop a Chaos Spawn in its place. That's really, really annoying when you pop it. Your opponent goes, well, I'll take one off the front because it'll make your charge harder. And you go, no, it doesn't, because I've just popped a nice big fluffy Chaos Spawn in front of you, and now you're drawn into combat. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think the War Scroll spells are the better ones. However, these provide a bit of utility.
Yes, very true.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. It gives you that extra, like I say, it just increases your arsenal really, and particularly how there's a lot of more than one cast wizards in the army. Not so much for the mortals, but more on the demon side, which I appreciate these guys aren't. But if it gives you, there are some here that are not just offensive spells, which is cool.
The worst offender being Infusion Arcanum, which you don't want your caster in combat. Don't take that.
Yeah, especially a mortal caster.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Demon Prince now doesn't have the mortal keyword, so.
Well, I mean, you can send your Ogroid Shaman into a suicide mission.
Why would you send your Ogroid? Why would you want to chuck away one of those? But there's are there any others that stand out? Like, is Shield of Fate, is that good, depending on your Destiny dice?
Well, no, it got worse, because it was a casting of 5, now it's a casting of 6.
Oh, right, okay.
So, for me, before, on sort of turn 1, if you got Alpha Striked, and you were able to get this spell off, then great. Because you usually would still have enough Destiny for it to matter. But later game, it's basically a pointless spell. It's not worth sacrificing taking, Bolt of Tzeentch over.
Yeah. And it's just, yeah, you're right. And just to talk about the other two, like Treacherous Bond
went down.
Yeah.
The casting value of 5 from 6.
It's alright. Obviously if you want your mortal wizard to stay alive, it's good, but and I could see like people trying to pair it up with, I don't know, like acolytes or something to try and ignore that mortal wound that you pass on, but the
problem is, if your opponent goes first, Treacherous Bond is not worth anything because you haven't had a chance to cast it.
Yep.
So it's only good if you know, 1, that your caster is going to be attacked, and 2, he can survive that attack. Because if your opponent manages to get 6 mortal wounds through, on a great charge, or manages to get, a handful of wounds through, you're essentially going to clip your own army very quickly. Although this pairs well with the pink horrors, yes, I agree, but on everything else, it's not that great. And they still have to be
Holy
Whole
within 9.
thing, 9 inches.
Yeah, it's not a big range, is it? And that's only
It used to just be 18 inches.
it used to be 18.
Yes, it used to just be within 18.
Oh, okay. That's if it went from like I don't know, wholly within 18 to just within 18. That's just within 9. That's different. But
Oh no, this is definitely
Yeah.
off the cuff one, because now it's on a 3+ to allocate the wound, whereas before it was on a 2+.
okay, this is not worth the extra one down in Carson
No,
Bay then.
let's gloss over treacherous bond.
Yeah. That's, and then the last thing just to say about the spells, the last spell, is if I was new to this army and a new player, one that I would probably look at and think, oh, that might be worth doing, that might be quite good. Thinking about the Destiny dice is Glimpse of Future, casting value 7, you add a Destiny dice to your pool. Is that...
It's nice if you've got lots of mortal casters and you're sort of like, I don't know which spell to put on them because spells.
That's me.
It is fine because it means you can cast it, you'll get a fate point and you'll get a destiny dice back. But as first choice, no, it's not first choice for me. Not for me personally.
It seems to be a spell that you can cast when you have nothing better to do,
Yeah.
which
Yes.
usually you have by casting that one spell you have on your war scroll, with most mortal wizards only being able to cast one spell anyway.
Exactly.
Maybe the enemy's being too cautious and there's just nothing in range and it's like, well, at least I can do something. But I don't-
In that case, yes, but you might as well
Yeah.
cast Mystic Shield to generate.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because Carson Bay 7, isn't it? So.
And on the other hand, it gives you a Destiny dice, yes, but you can still generate your fate points with any other spell, even though your opponent is out of range, as we just had that
Yes.
little debate.
I-
So it's
In
it's
that
minor.
instance, in that instance, I'd rather have Shield of Fate because then at least it does something. It applies to a unit. If I know the opponent's going to get that charge off, I'd rather take Shield of Fate over Glimpse of the Future. One Destiny dice, maybe per turn, whereas I could reroll saves. I'd rather take the save rerolls than the extra dice.
With it also being more reliable on a 6 casting value.
Yes, I think it is a nice if your Destiny dice, then yes, this is an obvious pick. But again, you can only cast it once, and you can only benefit from it once per spell phase or hero phase. So you can only ever get back one dice out of that spell. It's got a casting value of 7, and if you spend Destiny dice to make it happen, because you have to spend 2 now, you're not getting the benefit. You're only getting 50% of what you spent back.
Yeah.
And you might end up rolling a 2 or a 3 when really you needed a 6. So if it just said you can add a Destiny dice of any number of your choosing pool, yes, it would be very good. But you still have to roll another dice. And again, the times that you get a 6, you'll feel like Tzeentch has blessed you himself. But that time when you roll a 2 or a 3 and you really didn't want a 2 or a 3, you've had to spend a spell where that could have been mortal wounds on the enemy. Even an arcane bolt, at least it does something to your enemy, whereas this doesn't give you any massive benefit. So I don't know. I don't think it's good.
That's fair enough. I just thought because I think a few like brand new people may look at it and think it's good, but it is. I think the short answer is it's not bad, but you're going to want to be doing other spells instead.
Yes, there are better choices.
Yeah,
It's still a better choice than number 5 and number 6, but
Yes,
but being third worst on this list depends how many mortal wizards you bring in.
yeah. Basically, yeah. If you again, as Mar keeps saying, if you've got a Magister, you're casting his War Scroll spell because it's a total benefit for you. You get a fate point, you take models off the board, and then you add your own board. If you've got the Curseling, it can be okay on the Curseling because if there's no enemy wizard in their army, you can't benefit from his unbind. But again, you would just rather give him something else.
and I think when you pick the Zangor Shaman, you want to cast his spell definitely when you're leaning into Zangors. because
Yeah.
just adding models to a unit.
It's just you're benefiting because you still get the fate point on top of that. So you for that spell to be effective, it would either have to buff a unit or debuff an enemy unit and give you the destiny dice, and it doesn't do that. So it's very, what would you say? It's a very inward spell. It only has one particular use. And if you're heavy spamming destiny dice, then fine, you might find use out of this. But you've got to find that fine line between spending your destiny dice and saving them. And if you have if you only get and you get one destiny dice out of those 4 turns, you're not going to get the real benefit out of it.
No. Yeah, I think that's summarised nicely on that one. Right, and then moving on to something that's probably going to be more commonly taken is going to be the Law of Change with all the
With
demons
way
coming.
more viable spells.
It's like I say, I believe the demons are the stronger choice in this book, and there are, from what we've looked at so far, there are hints along the way of, if you want to make this book as most competitive as it can be.
Yes.
Yeah, the demons are. I would say they're subtle. Some are more subtle than others. The hints. But anyway, so spells. The Bolt of Tzeentch is just like the first Bolt of Tzeentch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not bad. All right.
7. So it's even better. It's even better. Casting it on a 7 d6 moon. It's excellent to throw on something.
Yeah. What about Treason of Tzeentch?
Low casting value, great on smaller demon wizards, I think, that don't have any casting bonuses.
Yes.
And reliably for clearing hordes.
Yes. Not only that, the fact now, so before, it didn't do anything to them, whereas now, giving them a -1 to hit is, in and itself, is very, very good. But also being able to take models off the board is also very, very good. So yes, before it was not an auto-include, now it is very high up the list. It is very, very good. As you say, throw it on something that doesn't get bonuses to casting in any way, even though the demons will get bonuses in some way, shape or form. And yeah, go to town with that. You can make a unit of clan rats evaporate very, very quickly with that spell.
And all I'm going to say is I think clan rats, the more in the unit, the better hit they get. But there are quite a few horde units out there that have a lot of attacks, but not the best to hit into wound rolls. So, and by this, ideally, you would pick one of those big horde units, and it's just nerf them even further with, they might be chucking out, I don't know, like 3 attacks each, but they're only hitting on 5s now.
My stabbers are shaking in their tiny hoods in fear from
this. I was just thinking that the goblins and
hide in their caves.
Goblins and orcs are going to struggle with that because taking off, the ability for them to hit, but also picking models off, very good. Even Skeleton Horde will resent this spell.
Yeah.
Because
if you've got spears, so your Skeleton Horde. So your swords hit on a 4, your spears hit on a 5. Which one's better? I don't know. It's a different conversation. I used to say spears, but now maybe swords. However, if you've got a big unit of your spears, they hit on 5s. If they've got a death hero within 18 inches, I believe. Why since I looked that up, but 18 inches, I believe. You +1 to your hit rolls. So you're used to them hitting on 4s, essentially. I don't look at my spears and think they hit on 5s. I think they hit on 4s. This now brings it back to 5s. If I don't have that hero in range, they're hitting on 6s.
Well, if it's a block of 30, on average, I'm going to pick off, 5? So I've taken your block of 30
Yeah,
down,
5, yeah.
Down 5 guys, and now I've made them -1 to hit. Again,
also,
it's about making things pillow-fisted and you survive.
And I was just going to say, in that particular instance as well, if there was 30 and you've taken away 5, you've also taken away one of their attacks.
Yeah.
Also, a remarkable detail is that the subtract 1 from hit rolls
Yeah.
It's not specified to be melee, which means it's also very dangerous for blobs of handgunners in cities.
Yes. And
It's true.
it's until your next hero phase. So if you go first, you cast this spell and if your opponent gets the double turn, like we're talking about, they're still -1 to hit on everything. So that is very, very powerful. Spill into turn 2 or turn 3 with a spell and really take advantage of that. That can be not just the killing of the model, the slaying of the models is essentially the byproduct. The -1 hit is excellent. It's very, very good. It's cheap to cast. Yeah, I like it. I do like it.
And I think I like the little bit of lore we've got for this, because it is called Treason of Tzeentch. So Tzeentch's delight in sowing treachery and deceit, and many of his demonic sorcerers can channel this aspect of their master's power to set brother upon brother. Because, you know, with these, it's not just a case of, oh, some magic's hit them, they're dying. You've made the enemy unit start to kill itself. Which is, it just shows that, you know, that sinister aspect of it.
It's not like the little grots would need a reason to choke one another out.
No,
You've given them one.
It's just that, like, that one grot is just there, just going like, I knew Jack took my mushroom. I knew he did. He must have taken it. And then this spell hits and goes, he did take it! And he just starts trying to throw him.
Just imagine the Nether choking the other goblin to death with his net.
Die! Shoot him in the head! Yeah, it's quite, yeah, it is quite cool. And like you said about shooting, you know, I can imagine like the grots. Are they shooters? They shooters?
Yeah, they
just turn around and just shot their bows at each other. Yeah, and then like, I don't know, I can imagine a grot shooter shooting another model in its unit with a bow and killing it straight away because it's a mortal wound, and they go, oh my god, it's never hit this well before, and just start shooting the rest of them. So it's not. So what it is, it's not like 10 mortal wounds. Done by different grots killing each other. It's just that one grot there with his bow going, oh my god, I'm like Legolas here, this is amazing.
Ricochet.
Yeah, ricochet. Okay, well, I've taken out the chain of command, I guess I get a promotion. So it's cool, isn't it? And then if there's only one model of that unit and you manage to roll a 6 for it, I don't know why you would pick that unit, and then you've literally just made the guy stab himself a little bit, so great. You just imagine like an Empire swordsman.
Step on a Lego.
Yeah. Oh, the pain. Yeah. Oh.
Maybe he got attacked by his own shoelace and just fell.
Yeah. Oh, that's a dangerous bit of. Just picks like, I don't know, a shiny. There's a Sigmarite coin on the ground. Oh, that's nice in the middle of the battlefield. Why is that there? Secretly placed by Tzeentch. It can be all done differently. It doesn't all have to be the same. But I just think it's cool. It shows like the lore in it rather than just it's essentially a different type of bolt of Tzeentch. It's different to that, which is cool. It's nothing better than making your enemy kill themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So unchecked mutation. Nope, that's not the next one. The next one is arcane transformation. So arcane transformation has a casting value of 6. It's successfully cast. Pick one for any Tzeentch hero wholly within 18 inches of the caster and visible to them until your next hero phase. You can add 1 to that hero's move and bravery character. You can add 1 to that attack characteristics of one of that hero's melee weapons. What are our thoughts on this one? Yeah, has anyone got anything good to say about it?
Well, it went down. It went down from a 7.
It went down. It's not as. I mean, I never put this on my list anyway. But if I was, I could maybe get a fate point.
It's like someone stuck an air freshener in that big steaming pile of.
It's kindness.
And then the air freshener just sinks into the shit.
It's not good. I think that's an auto pass for me.
Little plastic pine slowly sinking.
It's like when you're I don't know you're at a get together or something, and like there's like one person who's been trying to say something in the conversation for ages, and you just like try and say something clever like arcane transformation, and you just stare at him and go, oh, that's nice, and then you just continue and talk. So we'll leave Arc. It's got a cool name, but it's not quite as cool as Trinity. Anyway, we've returned that spell doesn't exist. There's worse spells out there. I would say there are worse realm spells. Okay, so the next one is Unchecked Mutation. Unchecked Mutation has a casting value of 6. A successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 18 inches of of the caster and visible to them, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If any models from that unit are slain by the spell, you can roll a dice. On a 3+, that unit suffers an additional D3 mortal wounds, and the spell ends. Not bad?
Yes.
Love it.
It's much better than its previous rendition. It's went down from a 7
A
to
lot
a
of these
6.
have gone down, haven't they?
A lot of them have.
Yeah.
The original version of the spell is it inflicted D3 mortal wounds. You roll the dice, and on a 5 or a 6, you did an additional mortal wound. Whereas this is D3 mortal wounds with a 60-ish% chance to inflict another D3 mortal wounds. This is an elite killer. This is designed specifically to target things that have wound profiles. If you get lucky and you nail 6 out of this, which does happen, you can take a model down a wound profile very, very quickly. Or you can reduce that 3-man or that down to 2 men, or you can pick one of them off. So against things like Morghast stuff, this is frightening for them, because being able to just auto hit and do a minimum of 2 wounds is always helpful. So I like it. I do like it. It's much better than its previous. Much better.
Right, yeah. It reminds me a little bit like the Maw. But not as... Because the enemy has to be... Not as good as the Maw, from the Ogre Tries, but it reminds me a little bit of it. If you go against, I don't know, 1-wound models, fantastic.
Yeah, or even 2-wound models. If you put this against Liberators... I always go back to Liberators, but if you put this against Liberators, on average you're going to get 2. That's 1 dead. On a 3+, you get to have the chance to take another one out. So you've essentially almost cut that unit in half.
Yeah, and especially if they go, I've got a 2-up save with rolling 1.
Well, if you combine that with, the Bolt of Tzeentch when you're doing D6. And then you combine that together, that's if you can get the second one off, you're essentially getting 6 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
So it can be that the two, stacked with other damaging things, it can do a lot. It can do you work. I still think Treason of Tzeentch is better, even on smaller units, because you only need to hit them. Is it to hit them, or do you have to kill something? Hang on till I make this right. It's slain. So, yes, you still have to kill something, but in both spells you still have to kill something, whereas the Treason of Tzeentch, at least you get the -1 to hit.
Yeah.
So I would say Unchecked Mutation is more reliable against something like Ogre Gluttons.
Yes. Anything that's got, 1 or 2 wounds, I think it's very good against, because you're going to essentially pick off bits of that unit, and you'll find that stuff that's got 2 wounds is usually smaller units anyway. So being able to actually reliably the board, I think, is quite handy.
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like you say, it depends what you find against. It's case if you go against Gristlegore, which is a Fleshy Court army with nothing but Terrorgeists, you're going to go, I chose the wrong spell. But it's all what that is about. Now, some people probably have heard the next spell we're going to talk about, because it was a very good one, but it's still very good. But the main unit you used to pick it for, which were Enlightened or Skyfires, no longer can be picked. But let's talk about it anyway, because there are going to be some units that can benefit a lot from this, and that is Fold Reality. So, do one of you guys want to read this one out?
Yeah. So Fold Reality has a casting. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly Tzeentch demon unit wholly within 18 inches of the caster and visible to them, and roll a dice. On a 1, that unit is destroyed. On a 2+, you can return a number of slain models equal to the roll, equal to that roll. Set up the models 1 at a time within 1 inch of a model from that unit that has not been returned in that phase. The model can only be set up within 3 inches of an enemy unit if the friendly unit was within 3 inches of that enemy unit before any models were returned.
That just basically, the last little bit just stops any trying to cheekily get things into combat. So,
well, there's a cautionary tale to that, because originally it was very good on pink horrors, because what you could do is you could bring back your pink horrors with this ability when they were down to 1 or 2 models. Now I don't know how it's going to mesh with the new pink horror splitting rule.
You can still do that. You
Yes.
add slain models back to the unit. Slain were the pink horrors. So pink
Yes.
horrors are slain first, so you can add them back.
So you'd get
Yes.
the pink horrors and the blue horrors in the same
But you
unit.
have to watch replacement,
Yes.
because your blue horrors, essentially, if you don't place them properly, when you remove your pink horror, actually end up taking originally standing in. And people can say, well, you put them to the back of the unit. If you get wounds inflicted on you, you're still losing that pink horror, even if it's at the back of the unit, because they must take the wounds first. So
Yes,
it will still generate you 2 blue horrors and then 2 brimstone horrors, yes. But the difficulty is, if you roll a 1, that unit is gone. That includes the blue horrors, it includes any brimstone accrued. Whereas before, if you had 1 pink horror left, it was going to die anyway. Even if it did die from the fold reality, still got the points, whereas now you actually risk losing 200 points worth of unit very quickly. So this one I think is going to be difficult to balance.
Also, significant detail, you can no longer spend Destiny dice to resolve spell effects.
Yes,
So
so you
this
cannot
one's
have-
toughest with that.
Yes, this one comes with a big risk. So if you've got 1 pink horror left and the rest is all blue, which it would be, is it worth spending that to bring back maybe 2 or 3 pink horrors, or potentially losing all those blue horrors and now all those brimstone horrors? It's risky. Its use has changed a lot, because you're taking the risk that you essentially obliterate the whole reason that you took the pink horrors in the first place. So its use for me has changed, and it's no longer an auto. Definitely not. It's got a huge weight against it. Yes, you've got a chance of that happening, but I am the player that it always happens to. And now that I can't use the Destiny dice to guarantee that it doesn't happen, it is a big risk.
I think it is now more useful for, again, what I prefer, flamers, which have multiple wounds and
Yeah.
are come in smaller units. So when you have 1 flamer left, being able to return some of them with 2 wounds each is much more rewarding, and I think way less punishing
Yes,
when you lose
absolutely.
1 flamer.
Yeah, 'cause
But as you said, where they were known for was on the pink horrors, basically generating you extra pink horrors and therefore extra blue horror points. So if you are still running, like I am, a pink horror heavy list, this might not be an auto include anymore. But yes, for flamers, especially for flamers, this is very good, because as you say, bringing multi-wound models back.
yeah, 2-win models, aren't they?
Yes. So bringing multi-wound models back, because it says models, it doesn't say wounds, it says models. So being able to take that 1-man squad back to 6 or 1-man squad back to 3 is very helpful.
That works on screamers, which are 3 wounds each.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is true. And also, like, flamers, not the most expensive models, but each one of those is costing you 40 points. Their units are free for 120.
Well, just bringing them back in the first place as well, because it doesn't have to be from. So you could technically put it behind your other flamer, and if your opponent somehow manages through some shenanigans to kill that other flamer off, you're now disengaged from combat, and you didn't have to do anything. All you did was cast a spell. So it means you can shoot again.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
good
from
to
a
that great.
tactical implication.
And you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could do it on Exalted Flamers of Tzeentch, or you could do it on the Chariots.
Yes,
I'm
'cause
not sure if chariots can come in larger units.
Yeah,
can
they can come in units of
they
3.
can come in units as well. So
And like each one of those costs you 150 points. And you can have 1 to 3 in a unit. Just looking at the points now. Exalted Flames of Tzeentch. 1 to 6 in the unit. So I don't know if 6 of them is worth taking the unit. I don't know, but probably not. However, each of those is costing you 100 points. So imagine you come down to 1, and then imagine if you brought them all back.
Well, even if
that's
you've
500
got
points
two.
back. Because they're pretty good, Exalted Flamers. You know,
And Exalted Flames are 4 wounds each, so that's quite a
they've
good
got a
thing.
good shooting. They've got rend on their shooting attack, and there's
Yep.
6
Yes.
attacks.
Like, even if you take a unit of 2 of the chariots together, being able to just bring that chariot back when that other chariot's down onto its last wound is still very powerful, because what happens is you can cast that again, and it's models that were slain from that unit. So if you only get to bring, you bring the 2 back and another one die, the other one dies because it's only got 1 wound left, you can still bring it back the next turn. And you might end up bringing back a full unit of chariots for basically, or you wait for your opponent to get back down to 1, and then you do it again, and you bring them back again. So yeah, I think on smaller, more elite units like the Flamers and the chariots, it has a very powerful implication, because as you say, you can bring back potentially 120 points, 150 points of models, which is very good. It's never a loss. But where its original implication abused was on the Zangors and was on Pink Horrors, I think has been diminished somewhat, especially at Pink Horrors. Been diminished on Pink Horrors, but I think something else that's left kind of intact.
Yeah. Okay, and then that leads us on to our. So yeah, still worth taking. Just it's got.
Its purpose is now to reinforce more elite units.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's not that it's not worth taking anymore. It's a case of we're used to it with Enlightened and your Skyfires, but now we just have to think of something else.
Yes,
and
it has its place.
Yeah, and exactly. And we've listed a few things that you could use it for. There might be other things, but we've just came up with a few things within a few minutes. So I'm sure there's probably people out there who've already play tested lists with ideas. So then the last one is going to be Tzeentch's Firestorm. So Tzeentch's Firestorm has cast value of 9. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit within 80 inches of the caster that is visible to them and roll 9 dice. For each 6 that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. I personally feel high casting value, but you could do a lot of damage to the enemy, but it's very on average, what, you're going to get 1.5 6s?
Yeah, that's a classical spell for your Lords of Change. They can get this off.
Yeah, I was just about to say it's made for the Lord of Change. That spell is designed to be put on him.
It is, but it's a case. I feel like with this, you're either going to do insane damage or nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an all or nothing spell, and in this way, it reminds me of the Slanesh Ender spell, the little mirror, which does its 6s squared as damage.
Yeah. Yeah, it is good, and don't you could roll 1 6 for this, and you could roll 1 for the mortal wound. But at the same time, I mean, like for example, on that live battle report I did the other day with my Slave's Darkness against someone else's Slave's Darkness, my buddy was rolling for wounding for the Chaos Knights in the charge. So 2 damage, but if he got a 6 to wound, it was going to be 3 damage because he was Nurgle. He rolled 7 dice. He got 5 6s.
Yeah. I think.
How is that even possible? I mean, like, so you know, roll a 9 here. That's 2 more. You've got the potential. I'm going to say anything can happen. Imagine if you rolled 5 6s on this. Ooh.
Well, I think the other thing to take into consideration is, as Mer said, you put this on a Lord of Change. You let off his command ability, which makes it 8, but that really actually makes it a 4, because you only need to roll 1 4 up to make this spell happen. If you add Chronomantic Cogs into the equation, you're now talking a 7 up, and if you add the Aura of your ability in it, you're getting to reroll. So a 7 up, rerolling fails, getting D3, average of maybe 1 to 2, you're 6 damage. I would say it's still pretty good, and it generates a fate point, so I don't think it's to be. I always include this spell somewhere in my army, and it usually ends up on my Lord of Change, because he can reliably cast it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, yeah, it's don't look at the big numbers here and look at it and go 9 dice. I need 6s, you know, or you know, like, you know, 9 D3 mortal wounds. You know, that's not going to happen. But there's no way to try and enhance your way of getting those 6s for this roll, is there?
No.
No. Okay.
No, it's just a flat 6.
Yeah.
But the times that you do drop it on an enemy hero, for example, and you get 3 6s, watch your opponent shake. Because getting 3d3 damage is no joke. If you can land, you know, on average 7 wounds out of those d3 or 6 wounds out of those d3, that's a lot of heroes dead. Only the big heroes are really surviving that attack.
Yeah, I mean,
that's only one spell. You still have, you know, like for example, Lord of Change's Infernal Gateway to drop. So it can really, if it goes off, as you say, and it goes off well, it is spectacular. But when it fails, it's really annoying because it's so hard to cast anyway.
Yeah. The only experience I have of a spell like this, not this spell, but a spell like it, was the Winds of Chaos for the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on his Manticore. It's changed now, but how it used to be before the new book was casting value 7. Whatever you casted, if you got the spell successfully, and let's say you cast it on, let's say a 9, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, roll 9 dice, whatever you cast it on, if it was successful. And for each 5, the enemy unit took 1 mortal wound, but for each 6, that enemy took D3 mortal wounds. Don't get me wrong, sometimes I cast it, I did nothing. And then there was one time where I cast it on a casting value of 12, and then I can't remember how many 6s I got, but I essentially got enough 6s to wipe out a Star Drake on full health, and that's a Star Drake I've been trying to kill for about 7 games. So it was, you know, if you try hard enough, you're going to get those dice results one day. You know, a lot of the time, you might not get any 6s with this spell, but sometimes you might get a load. So it really is quite random. It's very hit or miss.
It's a swingy spell.
Swingy,
but
that's
when it goes off, that is the time in the game where you get to say, just as planned.
Yeah, just as... and even if you don't get it off, you go, just as planned. But you failed, just as planned. And then you get in your phone and go, what are they talking about? What? I don't understand. And then you're already won because you're making them doubt themselves. And that's why I love Tzeentch. So what I'm going to say, guys, is for the moment, I think we're gonna end it there. I think because we've already been talking quite a while. It's like nearly 10 past midnight in Germany. Well, thank you very much, Max, for staying up with us.
No problem.
And we have. It's not just that we got like one more page to go. We have got all the hosts to go, and then we've got the battalions, which I think if we can arrange something in the future and you guys are happy to do it, I would love to have you guys on the channel to go through the cults and the battalions. I think would be a good part 2 to this video.
Sure.
It'll be good fun. And then I'm thinking maybe we'll see how things go. I always change my mind, see how things go. But if that has to go well, and then maybe do a final part 3 to this video, and that'll just be looking at the War Scrolls. I say just looking at the War Scrolls. There's more than 1 or 2 in this book, but it means that because Tzeentch is a bit of a tricky one for me. As if you guys are Tzeentch fans and you saw the last videos me and Martin did, you'll notice that we covered the units what we covered quite extensively, and then we cut off halfway through. So it's a case of like, I'm not going to do a whole full series on the Tzeentch again because it's not that I, essentially can't be bothered. It's that it's time taken away covering other armies that other people like. And as the sort of like army videos have been a little bit stagnant in the sense of I haven't been able to complete Tzeentch and move on because of the update, I think we just did 3 parts to Tzeentch. Like the first one we've done now, which is basically the main Allegiance abilities, apart from the cults. The next one's being the cults and the battalions because they sort of go hand in hand. What battalions are good for what cult, and then the War Scrolls as a whole. If we did it in a 3-part series, I think that'd be pretty good. Of course, you've got like why play Tzeentch and like lore and all that. That's already been done for the Tzeentch. You're more than welcome to check that out. But I think for now, I think we're happy with that. But I want to say thank you very much to you two. I hope this has turned out well because, like I said, we can't edit this, and I was having a bit of a problem with my mic earlier. So hopefully you've all been successfully recorded on this. Otherwise, that's going to be hilarious. That'll be there. Otherwise, we will do another video on what we've just talked about, but instead of it being over, I'm going to say over an hour, more like over 2 hours or even more than that, it will be a 10-minute video telling you really frank and honesty what is good and what is shite. Or how do you say shite in Germany?
Scheiße.
Oh, Scheiße. There we go.
Spell 1, good. Spell 2, bad.
Yeah. Right, moving on. And then someone just go like, oh, but what about the what about the, what do you call, like, Arcanite command traits? Shit, move on. Okay. Just like...
Just forget them. Just gloss over them.
What? It's like, what do you want to tell me about the book? If you really want to make the mortals good, you can. If you can't be bothered, take demons.
Yeah.
That is not to ruin part 2 and part 3 of this series, but that's what's going to happen. Right, so okay. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the videos, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. As always, I'll put a link to Martin's channel in this video as well, so you can go check that out, as he's new to YouTube as well. And yeah, thank you very much, guys, for helping me with this channel and today with the video. Really appreciate that, as you guys are subscribers, and Max being a Patreon. And also I want to say a special thank you to Max as well, because this is his first, if I'm rightly, like, YouTube video you've done. Is that right, or have I just got that wrong?
Actually, I've been part in one before, but
oh
it was
god, I've got
Let's
that
Play with a friend, but that's about it. But yeah,
Okay.
no one's seen that, so it doesn't count. Yay, first video.
I'm gonna take away that. Not well done, actually. If you've done this, if you're experienced, I wouldn't have been so kind to you. No, thank you very much. Because also talking about, and also, you don't, Matt, he hasn't played the army yet, have you? Like, you're new, but very optimistic, as I can see, and you have read this book, I can certainly tell. And then it's great to have, like, how I feel like this video's gone is, I will say something, Max will, like, confirm it, deny it, and then if we both don't know, Martin will just go, no, that's not how you do that, or that is how you do it. You don't know. Stop trying to lie your way through this book. That's not how it works. But no, I think it's been great. So like I say, been great having you. Thank you to everyone who's watched this. If you didn't like it, like, subscribe, comment down below. Any questions, we'll be happy to answer. Definitely. If you, I think it's a good time to mention, if you want to get in a little bit about asking a bit more questions, more than welcome to join the Discord. We'll be in the link for it in the description of this video, because that's where Max is, and we also have quite a few people on there who often comment on updates and all that sort of thing, and have a good hobby chats and stuff going. And yeah, that's it.
I'll be dipping out of your Discord now as well. So if you do have huge questions, I can. If I know the answer, I'll try and reply to as much as I can. If there is stuff that you want to know.
Fantastic. We'll do that. And what I was going to say, the next video we're going to have with this, so it'll either be Tzeentch or probably before that, see how things go. There's a Cowden Overlord one. And is that something you'd be interested in, Martin?
I would be up for speaking about the Caradrins. I know a little bit about. I've played them a few times. They've definitely changed, big time. So which is very good. They're a really nice army, and I think this sort of update has really done well for Tzeentch and the Caradrons. I think they've really taken the two armies that were kind of on the outset. The KO were much further out than Tzeentch was, and really pushed them into the front, which is nice. I like to see that. I like to see two not as popular armies getting shoved into the front, which is nice.
I'm also very happy that they didn't make them overpowered, because I personally don't enjoy playing an army where I know I didn't win because I did the right things. I won because I played that army. That isn't fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, trying to sit here being really modest, I once took a free keeper army to a game to teach someone a lesson. To teach someone a lesson with his bloody, I'm going to over-exaggerate here, 27 eels. He probably only had about, I don't know, 18. But 27 eels, if that's what it felt like, going straight into my bottom. I had to teach the person a lesson and won the game within about 5 minutes. And then after that, I was like, this must be cast into the fires of Mount Doom. And they have been, the keepers I have been sold, apart from one that I'm going to use as a statue for scenery. So it can never be used again, turns to stone. But the other two I've sold, I have sent to different corners of the world. I have deliberately done that, so they cannot be... I haven't sold them to anyone, I've just sent them to Antarctica and Australia. yeah, that's right. That's the North and South Pole, right? I think. So there we go. Anyway, and just another thing to say, I have managed to upload that battle report to YouTube. So that has been. I've literally tried. I've probably spent about a solid on that battle report trying to get it to work and filming it. Probably a solid 10 hours, 12 hours, something like that. Now the one thing I will say is on the YouTube channel now. However, the camera is blurry. Don't ask me why on the phone. It's fine, but it is a lot smoother than it was. It's not so jerky. So I think blurry is better than jerkiness. I think. Is that right?
Yeah, it's about right.
Yeah,
It's about right. Yeah.
it's about. Yeah. If you're driving, you're not allowed to be on your phone. So if you're driving and you listen to it, there you go. That's fine. What I would say is, like I say, it's the first battle report, so things will get better. But I'm a little bit stumped though because that's recorded on an iPhone 10, so the camera quality is meant to be, it shows up fine on the phone. So I don't know if
It's the scaling for YouTube because so I haven't uploaded much to my channel at all recently. There are reasons for that. But my plan is to start doing battle reports as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally record the videos on my phone, and they're great on the phone, and they're great when you look at them through a phone, but they don't scale well for some reason. I don't know if it's algorithm, and I don't know if it's every phone, so somebody could probably let us know. Wrong, but mine was the same. Sometimes randomly it will just become blurry, and I don't know if that's because the video is very compressed on a phone, whereas on a camera it doesn't have to be compressed. So I have a camera and a tripod, so when I do my battle reports, I will actually run off of a camera, an actual camera with a microphone attached, to attempt to alleviate that blurriness. But I do know what you mean with that.
I will put a bloody clip of that battle report in the Discord so people can believe me that the quality is okay. So I wish I knew that before I did it. I mean, if I'm honest. But that camera you've got, is that like a camera like you take a picture with but has a recording function, or is that like a video camera, which I imagine most families have, where it's got like a little strap for you to put your hand and it's got a little flap that comes out?
No, mine's is like it's a photographer's camera, but it's got like interchangeable lenses and stuff, but it's got a recording function that lets you record for 30 minutes before it cuts out. But the way I plan on filming battle reports, that won't matter. The trick is you attach the camera to the tripod and you hold the tripod.
And then there's less shakiness.
And then when you need to take like a shot of something, you can lay the tripod on the floor and it removes any vibration. So
yeah, that's true. And it's just I think how much that cost you?
You could get a small tripod for your iPhone, and essentially you're using it as a handle.
Yeah.
Might I suggest finishing the recording first and then putting post chatter?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I don't think anyone's watching it at this point, but that's fine. If you are, and you know of a good phone that's good for uploading to YouTube, please let us know. So anyway, guys, very good point by our German friend here. So I'm going to thank you very much for watching this, and remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.